Barbour. You know what's funny? I have a friend whose last name is Balfour, and it's just stuck in my head. So I apologize.
No problem.
All right, so Roger is a lawyer in New Jersey, criminal defense attorney, and of course, ironically, issue because his daughter takes cannabis, and because of that, the school board of Mapleshade has denied the family the right for his daughter to take medicine when she has to take it. All right, so it's an important question because, of course, we're in New Jersey here. You got Governor Christie in the House, who's been very big anti-drug person. So first, Roger came into my life about a month ago. I was introduced to him just through the internet of, hey, check out this case going on in New Jersey. And through connections, he's here today. So Roger's blown away for just being in the house, being on the mic.
Yep, absolutely. It's amazing how things come together in random order to non-random order, and here we are doing a great thing, and it just seems like we're meant to be here today doing this.
Right. So like I said, so Roger's daughter.
My every 10 seconds, her pupils were zipping out of the lens, big, small, big, small. I said to my wife, wow, something's wrong here. So we contacted the pediatrician, and within 24 hours, we were at CHOP, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. So my wife and I knew that something wasn't right. It was a condition called infantile spasms. And what that is baby epilepsy. When she turned a year old, they reclassified it to epilepsy. And since Jenny's been 3, she's been having seizures almost every day, typically a grand mal, on the floor type of thing, which now they call a tonic-clonic seizure. That's the current terminology for it. But she's been having those seizures since she was an infant. We've been on every pharmaceutical that's lawful, some that have not been approved yet by the FDA, that Children's Hospital, my wife likes to say, smuggled in through Canada to New York and were used on our daughter. But none of the pharmaceuticals, Neil, have ever worked in controlling her seizures. I'm a firm believer that they never stopped a single seizure. My wife got into the internet world of moms and cannabis and discovered that this drug is not a narcotic. It's not a poison like we've been taught, and that there's a lot of people out there that are having significant medical benefit for their children. So she started doing research. Took about a year process for her to get licensed in New Jersey, to get a medical marijuana card for my daughter. And as soon as we started using medical cannabis with the whole plant, CBD, THC, THCA, our daughter had significant seizure relief. She went from having seizures typically daily, multiple a day, every other day at the least in frequency, to now she's having seizures typically once every 5 days. Way less in frequency, way less in severity. She is totally receptive now. It's like a new child. In the last year, our family's getting to know our sibling and daughter for the first time. There's somebody in there. She's not a zombie like she was on their pharmaceuticals, you know. 2 years ago at school, she used to have to wear, we refer to it as a dog leash. It's called a gait belt, a leather harness that goes around her body so her one-to-one aide could make sure she didn't fall over or bang into walls from the side effects of the pharmaceuticals.
Right.
She would sleep through half of her school day, had a doctor's note, let her sleep, part of her IEP. Medical cannabis comes into her life. She went from using one-word sentences, eat, bathroom, to a couple months ago she came running into the computer room. Our dining room's a family computer room. And she just said, I love Dada. My wife and I looked at each other, started crying, almost fell off our chairs. A 3-word sentence.
Right.
First time ever.
Wow.
Incredible.
How old is the child?
16 years old.
Oh my God.
So if I could take you back, so At what age was the introduction of cannabis given to her?
She was 15.
15. And did they do a dosage concept?
1, 2. Yeah, there we go.
Welcome to the Ignorance is No Excuse show, cmmnj.com, cmmnj.org. Sativa Cross podcast outside the governor's office. It's a bittersweet day. It's a sweet and sour day. We're celebrating the governor passing the PTSD bill. And we're also giving Roger Barbour a memorial service.
But we're celebrating his life.
And we're celebrating Roger's life.
And we're actually celebrating the governor letting it pass into law with his signature because he did very little to help get it passed. You know?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Grady didn't stand in the way, but you know he should come to actually support it. It's going to save lives, but his signature will save lives. I do not doubt that, and I don't have to know who, when, or where.
I know. He got it. Yeah, we're competing across this with people across the street.
This
So.
is-
And we're timing it too. 2 minutes. Okay.
Well, this is
Well,
trend that goes on. You know.
Yeah, we got to open the show here,
Yeah.
and it's a big show for us, a big deal. I didn't think our aha moment. You know, we're waiting for the one moment of the podcast.
Yeah.
I didn't think it'd be a memorial service for Roger, man. Of the, I mean, it's a huge day, but I didn't want this kind of a huge day, man.
Oh,
It's
I
just,
know.
it's brutal.
Bittersweet.
It's been a horrible year. We've lost Chad. We lost Jeremy. We watched Joanne, our friend Joanne, suffer, and our family suffer because they lost their husband to a motorcycle accident a week before Roger.
But the sadness of the situation is what underscores the message, and that there is stuff to be done. Roger was in the middle of some unfinished business, quite simply getting a law passed, which there's two versions that exist, that would allow a school nurse to give their daughter, Jenny, with autism and epilepsy, that the school nurse could then give her the medicine. Right now, Laura has to do it. And I understand we're going to get a chance to talk to Laura today. Is this true? Lefty, are we going to talk to her?
Laura could not make it today. She was planning on coming, but it was too much for her, and I totally understand.
I'm almost relieved. It's same problem you have sometimes with veterans stepping up and testifying, depending on who they are. It makes the situation worse temporarily, and then if you can pull back in and say, well, it passed on some good and average it out. But with Laura, I don't know anything in the people's lives I've known and cared about that parallels this. I really don't. I mean, it was about all two people could handle, taking good care of Jenny. And so we will be remembering Roger, but how do we do this, Lefty? I mean, this is crazy.
On camera. We're broadcasting right now.
How do we do this?
Take it that way off camera. That's all I'm asking. Make your argument, but just not on camera. Thank you.
So
No, just that way.
that
There's the camera.
Roger was thrust into a situation. Now, I'm not a father, but I can imagine that if I had a child whose life could be saved or greatly improved by cannabis, what will you do when you reach the brick wall, as you do? And Roger was just one of those rare individuals that he'd go left, he'd go right, he'd go straight ahead. He'll tunnel under it if you close your eyes for a second, come up behind you. He was always there.
We're on the air. Turn around. We're broadcasting.
Yeah, we're broadcasting right now, and we're doing a memorial service for our friend who died. So I agree with you guys what you're doing over there, but can you have some respect for us too, please?
This is what we do every
Yeah,
Thursday.
so have a little respect, please.
You know.
The family has no father to take care of an epileptic child, okay? This child has no father right now, and she still has her seizures. Her seizures do not take a break.
I will.
So have some respect. Thank you.
I'll tell you what. I'll be right back.
This is no joke over here. This is medicine for children.
First thing you do is you jump on. We're actually broadcasting live. We're
Yeah.
we're live right now.
Yeah. So
And you jump on camera.
Yeah, and you're not looking good
Really?
now. Really? You're not looking too good now, guys. I'm sorry. It's not a good look for you. Jeez. You know, we got enough to deal with people. Yeah, man, come on. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Give me a break. Today's not the day. Hi, Neil. Thank you for... Dude, we played Roger's audio. We're going to play more of Roger's audio as the day goes on. I was listening to it, and I was brought to tears because it's like... When Roger said that Jenny said the words, Dada, which she never said before, that was a huge deal. That's a huge deal. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than that, losing the father. Because now, I talked to Laura last night. She's now a single mom. She went from being a housewife to being a single mom. Damn, if that's not a
blow,
a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'm a father, so, I mean, I know what it's like.
Me too. Yep.
So, I mean, Laura has a rough road ahead for her, raising the 2 kids. So, can I introduce myself?
I'm sorry,
Please,
Neil.
yeah.
Neil Schloss.
Neil Schloss.
Schloss. I'll get it right one day.
That's all right. I'm a CPA from New Jersey, and I was lucky enough 13 years ago to start on the mission of learning the laws and the rules and the regulations that are being imposed by the government, so that in the end, most people are going to have to learn that, so they follow within the guidelines. So with that, I, of course, created a company called CanaSense Total Wellness, and with that, Roger came to my office, and we retained him as our lawyer for CanaSense Total Wellness. And we had a great discussion on what was happening with him. I actually was lucky enough to interview him, as you know. And as you said, I mean, it's going to be a rough road for Laura. And, I mean, we're here. Our company's here to help her. We have a foundation in place. Actually, if you choose, when you go see the doctor, the legal defense as your option, the code being sent over is Jenny.
Yeah.
Right? Because we knew that Roger was fighting this fight, and if money came in, we can help Roger support his mission to change the laws so that nurses can actually administer the medicine to the children. So at this point, I think he's still in that. Roger was fighting that in federal court. I don't know what the outcome is at this point.
At the time of his death, so there was no.
There's no conclusion. To
Right,
this at
he
this
didn't get
point.
that.
So I don't know where that stands, and of course tomorrow a meeting with his secretary to go through that to see where the legal stance is.
I think she's here.
Jenny,
Are you talking about
Deb?
Roger's secretary? Yeah.
Debbie?
Yeah, she's here. We're going to have to talk with her because we have to have a plan. One thing Roger would not want us doing is sitting here talking about how great and wonderful he was. He wants us to do some work. We have work to do. We got to get Jenny her bill on the senator's desk right now. Senator Cruz has to have that bill ready to get in the Senate.
Right.
That's our first step.
So our marching orders, like
So,
what's
yeah.
our marching
So
orders?
Debbie can help us because I know Debbie has some information. Yeah, we need some help. When you're ready, we need some help on direction because all of us have to get together and help because Roger was a one-man show. He did it all.
Yeah,
And
he-
we just followed his lead. And now we need to all get together and figure out how do we fix this, solve this problem.
Yeah.
So when he passed, what did he know? What do we know that he knew when he passed?
Well, I mean, from everything him and I talked about, which was just one day and then a few discussions on a phone, was that after Christie signed into law the ability that Jenny can take it at school, it was the issue that a nurse can't administer it. So he knew at that point he'd have to move it up to the federal court system so that the federal law would change to say any nurse from anywhere can help administer medicine to a child.
So what he knew was okay, we can take it at school. Then but what he also found out was now the next move is it's empty. So the next move is for nurses to be able to administer it. That's a whole nother.
That's a different issue that is.
And he was at the beginning of that.
He was at the beginning of that because, of course, it's not dealing with his child. It's dealing with the true legal concern of a nurse who is licensed to administer medicine.
It's a constitutional
It's-
issue.
Right,
Well,
right.
it was a conflict of. It's a conflict of state law versus federal law.
Okay.
And in the courts of law, you got to clear that up. So case law has to be established. If it's not established, it's sort of a mystery. Like, so nurses who are in a situation where their license can be challenged, they're just going to be concerned, hey, this is my livelihood. If my
Right.
livelihood's taken away from me, how do I support my family?
Right.
So, I mean, it's a moral concern from us. It's also from them. It's like, well, is the school going to fire me?
Yeah, it's a professional concern. Yeah, this is
So,
understandable in terms of their concern. And hence why we have to now make it so that we can alleviate that issue, because until these things happen, we don't know what else can come up until we start making these types of moves.
sure. I mean, for me, it's more of the nurse. It's the nurse, whoever it is, needs to stand up for her rights to basically help someone else. That's a right that she should just feel inside of her, as opposed to say, I'm concerned what the government's going to do to me if I do this.
The school's not helpful at all. They're like totally like not
Liability
helpful.
issue.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, I mean, we're a litigious society. I mean, everyone loves to sue. Everyone's concerned that the government's going to come down on you. And for me, it's, hey, you got to change that mindset to say, like, we're free people. We have rights for ourselves. The Constitution, not the Constitution put it in place, the Bill of Rights put it in place, that these natural rights to us, medicine's a natural right. Dr. Benjamin Rush, who signed the Declaration of Independence, talked about medical freedom, and that if government had control of medicine, what can happen to people that are being following their direction when that direction is the wrong road, as we've seen within medical cannabis. So, I mean, it's time that we get on our own road. And, I mean, CannaSense has been, or I say Lou Santiago, who is the founder of CannaSense, has just been a visionary. And through his vision, I mean, I'm helping him bring that to light through our company, CannaSense Total Wellness, and it's cannasense.com. We guide people through the basic steps. See a doctor, get your recommendation, give it to us, make sure we have the right paperwork so we're following the rules and regulations, and then you can pick your medicine out, and the medicine will be provided to you. That's simple.
What I want you to know is, being that now that PTSD is now part of the program, do you see where you are needed right here in the city of Trenton?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just everywhere. I mean, that PTSD being one of the issues. I mean, there's plenty of other medical conditions that people are suffering from that should be on the list. That should be just automatically implied into a doctor should make the choice,
Yes.
not the government.
Yes.
I mean, it's that simple. And if a doctor says yes, then let them try that alternative medicine. And if it helps them, which I believe will, then let them do it. I mean, and the imposition of government rules on doctors is making it.
Neil, stop. Governor's here. The governor needs to come
Governor Christie, we thank you, sir.
Governor, thank you.
You did a good thing.
Absolutely, thank you.
And Governor,
Thank
if you could, can you have someone come out with one of the pens? I like one of the pens you used to sign.
Thank you, Governor.
I would really appreciate that.
Can you say a few words?
Ken Walski.
Governor, can you say a few words?
Governor, can you come over and join the conversation?
Mr. Christie, I would love to meet you. Please come join us. Just a minute.
Okay, that was pretty cool.
That was awesome.
All right, that was cool.
That was great. Of course, I said to him there are other medical conditions that need to be added to this.
Yeah,
because
what did you say to him?
Well,
first of all, yeah, what did you say to him? Because everybody had something to say to him. What did you say?
I mean, I had the pleasure of meeting him at I had the pleasure of meeting him at a CPA conference, Lefty, a long time ago, before he was governor, when he was Attorney General. And, I mean, he's doing a good thing today. At the same time, I said, you
Calm
need...
down, little children. Come on, stop. Stop.
Sorry.
I said you need to add more medical conditions to the list because there's a whole list. And actually, cannabis.com on the website of education actually has a whole list of what ailments people are qualifying themselves for under different acts by different states. Because to be aware of the list is, it's kind of impressive that there's so many things that scientists have come out and said that they actually help others. And of course, I wanted to thank the kind pen man for giving me my great pen.
Philippe, these are the best.
Philippe is hooking me up with natural CBD oil.
It works.
Yeah.
It really worked to help my back.
Yeah.
It helped my back this morning.
So, thanks, Philippe, on that.
You're the man.
But going back to what I said to him, I just said simply, look, there's more that needs to be added to this list. And at the same time, my feeling is the people should just take their rights back at this point. See a doctor. Let the doctor decide if they should get a recommendation, and at that point, get medicine. Let them figure out if it helps them. Let them figure out what a sativa is, what an indica is.
Yep.
I mean, just understand what the medical benefits are, because a lot of people who are from previous generations just think of it as pot.
That has been my biggest thing that I've had to deal with since I've started activism.
Right.
Is I find myself talking to a lot of people, particularly the older generation, who are going off of really, really old, outdated information. And I always start off by saying, if I hear, when a person says to me, gateway drug, at that point, you just dated yourself. I know exactly how far I need to go and how far I can go in this particular conversation.
Sure.
And they're still using those old terms. I even have an advisor at school who says, who still says dope.
He uses that term?
Yes. And
Well-
I'm just like, oh no, he's.
Well, it's like, I mean, it's as a CPA, you learn language is important. I mean, if we speak different terms and we don't get on the same page, then we're going to walk away from the conversation not coming down to the same conclusion. And at this point in time, I mean, we call it medicine. We can call it medical cannabis and just leave it at that term. It's medical cannabis for patients. It's not pot. It's not marijuana. And, of course, for me, it's medicine that helps others. And then it's learning the different strains, learning what the effects are. And for me, it's, I mean, 13 years of literally learning about the subject matter. It was fascinating that what Lou taught me. I mean, he comes from 53 years in the industry. Okay, so it could be the two of us combined at age makes up how long he's been in the industry. So, so for that regard, it's like, I know what Christy did today was good for the PTSD patients, but there are so many other medical issues out there that should be added to the list today, so that we can move forward on this subject matter and get people healthier. It's that simple.
It's really, and the other part to it is which is a big deal, is getting people to the doctor.
Yeah.
Which doesn't happen, particularly here in the city of Trenton. You know, going to the doctors is a big deal. Well, you know what? Within the African American community, that's what I should, you know, that's a big deal. We don't really go to the doctors. Now, here's the thing. Did you know?
Is that just by choice, or because you're not? Is it not insurance or money issue?
All of it.
Yeah.
All right.
And did you know
Culture.
that? Yeah, no, all of it. 20% of the GDP is medical services.
So you're familiar with, I don't know if you read all of Obamacare's Affordable Health Care Act, but there is a part in the Affordable Health Care Act that talks about telemedicine as the new choice of seeing a doctor. And, I mean, we incorporated that into our company where you can actually see a doctor through FaceTime, through Skype.
VTC and stuff like
So
that.
through what's called telemedicine. And seeing the doctor, it's an official visit to the doctor. You pay the doctor fee, and they can determine if you can qualify or not. I mean, that telemedicine is just the new set of the way healthcare is going to be provided. Because in one sense, I know, like, friends of mine that are doctors, if someone's unhealthy at a certain point, they call me and say, hey, listen, could you ask the doctor you're with, like, what I need to do? And it's like, well, why don't you just Skype with him and talk to him directly? And with the Affordable Health Care Act, I mean, people will be able to do that today. And even through CanaSense, we guide you to see the doctor through the telemedicine program. Then it qualifies you to participate in the program. And then, like I say, and then we provide medicine because we know it's their right.
So that kind of speaks to some of the issues that you were talking about in terms of why. Access. Medicine does is helps to alleviate the access.
Right.
People can't get to the doctor, so let's bring the doctor to the people.
Correct. It's that simple. And you don't have to sit in an office waiting for 2 hours to see the doctor. The doctor is scheduled time. He shows up. If he's a few minutes late, the gentleman who is administering the program will just get online and say, hey, listen, doctor's about 10 minutes late, so we'll let you know when you're ready. And then you turn your phone and you're talking to doc.
So it's as time goes on, it'll become much more and more efficient because then at some point, aren't medical records supposed to be electronic at some point? So then you can actually send your doctor your medical records, and that would also help in the entire process and the interview process.
And that's, I mean, that can be done. You can upload documents to them to provide an X-ray if you want to. You can provide a doctor that you've seen locally, what they've been helping you with. So I mean, it's here. I mean, and I tell you, CanaSense has been. Or I say Lou brought the idea up, and I'm a younger guy than Lou, and I was more a technology geek. So,
right.
So for me, I kind of said, look, I love the Jetsons growing up, the cartoon, and basically seeing someone through the TV. I was like, when we could do this with doctors or anything, veterinarians. Like if a veterinarian has to see a patient, they're that animal. I mean, it's good. Hey, show me what the dog's doing. Are they panting? Like, I mean, they can visually inspect it and kind of give a report back. That's going to be the newest form of medicine that each state will adopt, but at the same time, it's here because the Affordable Health Care Act gave us that ability. So that's where I'm at with my company. And at the same time with Roger, I mean, I want to get back to Roger because, I mean, Roger is setting the standard and actually has made a difference for children in New Jersey. A million times over. And Today's definitely the day to remember him from the medical cannabis community because he was lucky enough to be the lawyer of a daughter that needed it because a lot of people don't want to take up this fight because it's time-consuming, it can be very expensive.
Yeah.
And Roger was like, look, this is my daughter. I will do everything for her. And I said, look, I'm not in your shoes, but I've been 13 years studying this. I mean, this is the right time.
Well, here's some things we have to do. We have to get this bill out there, and we need to get some filing fees paid for, because Laura does not have the money to pay for filing fees right now.
Right.
She's gonna lose her house at this point. I mean, really, let's be real here. They're in trouble, so she doesn't have the money for this fight. So we have to find an attorney. Maybe the board has an attorney that we can borrow. Maybe Ed can help us. I'm not going to speak for anybody, but. Maybe Ken or Jim can come over here and answer me a question. They're busy.
Do they have a GoFundMe?
Yeah, we need a GoFundMe. We need to do. We need that.
CanaSense has the foundation for the legal defense. So, I mean, if people want to make a 501c3 tax-deductible contribution, they can put it into that fund, and then we will use it to make sure that this case gets done, signed, sealed, and delivered.
Okay, good.
Okay,
they will pay for the filing fees. Okay, good.
We will make sure that
we need that. That's step one.
It's that simple. I mean,
that's huge.
Of course. And
Thank you.
And I mean, you could deduct it on your taxes. So, I mean, you'll save money on your taxes. So
if you pay taxes, yeah. Okay.
If you pay taxes, so
some people don't.
But
I work with a lot of crazy people.
So Lefty,
I'm surprised you pay taxes. Actually,
Lefty, tell me what you felt about shaking Christie's hand at this moment.
I'm a phony ass. I'm a fraud. I'm a fraud. I didn't mean anything I did, but I support. I'm happy he signed the bill. I am happy. But on the last day, really, how many people died waiting for him to sign that bill in the last 3 weeks?
Sure.
3 weeks. No, more than 3 weeks. 7 weeks, 8 weeks.
But
went
he did
by.
it.
45.
He did it.
But he did it on the last
I know,
possible
but he did
day.
it. But he
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah.
But
But he did it, so thank you. Thank you, Governor Christie. But there's people that probably aren't going to thank him.
I
And I'm
got
just
a
saying.
picture with him.
Just saying.
I did too.
Yeah.
I said what I said to him was that it takes a lot for a person in a leadership position to reverse course publicly.
Oh, you said that?
Yeah.
Sure. I
It
mean,
takes
it's,
a lot. But the sign of a good leader is someone who's who can humble himself enough to be able to do that, and he did that.
Sure.
And so I thanked him for that because that was big.
That's what you said to him?
Yeah, and I asked him for one of the pens. I want a pen. I want one of the pens he used to sign the bill.
And what did he say?
He said he'll get it, right? He said he'll get the pen out.
He
right?
said, I thought he was going to give
So we
one to
have
each of us.
We have a need to
I thought he said
see
he'd give us
Mr.
one
Christie again.
Okay, see, I was being very, all right, now, unlike him, I was being very, very selfish and only thinking about myself at that time.
Yes. That was not
Yeah.
nice of you.
It's all about you, Leo.
Yeah, it was. Hey, look, you called him.
I was going to say I'm sorry for calling you a pussy, but I almost said that. I almost said I'm sorry for calling you a pussy, Governor.
Yeah.
That's
almost
right.
said that.
Yeah, he did. I was just looking, but he said that. Him.
But
I asked for a pen.
well, I
No,
thought
I thanked
I
him.
thought I heard him say he was going to give one to each of us.
Okay.
4 of us.
I'll take one.
All right. So let's see if that happens.
I'm gonna wait a little while, then I'm going in there and I'm like, hey, look, I just asked for a pen. He said, yeah, so can I have that pen, please? I swear, watch me. No joke. I'm going to get that pen. I promise you.
I could get the pen.
So what do you say to
I like
Governor
when you
Christie?
said that.
I just kind of wanted the photo up.
I got you. I will pick a nice picture out of that one for you.
I think that was the pose I was going for.
Oh, God.
That's pretty funny.
I actually gave him a stink palm. I put my hand down my pants, and then I shook his hand. I did. Nobody saw that, though, off camera. It was off camera.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So raunchy.
Yeah,
That was wrong.
Sorry.
Wrong.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to think twice about shaking your hand.
That's why I pound everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, that's good to know, Lefty. And it's the left hand or the right hand we have to worry
Just
about?
pound me. Don't worry. Just pound me. Be all right.
Because I want to make sure when I
Elbows.
shake your hand.
Do the elbow thing.
Yeah.
Be all
I'll just nod to you from now on. Lefty, nice. Yeah. All right.
What's up, man?
right. Sup, Lefty.
Okay.
So what's for a
Wow.
PTSD patient, are they aware of what the next steps are for them in the New Jersey program?
No.
Following.
It's- yeah,
it's sort of a mystery for them.
Well,
I mean,
there was something that he.
There was conditions. There was a condition. What was that condition?
All right.
You have to wait. You have to fail other treatments,
No.
right?
Okay, now.
So did you look it up?
The only thing that I could find that said about PTSD is just that it had to be, you had to have tried something. You can't just say, hey, I have PTSD. You had to have been,
Right.
treated. But
Right.
I personally think, and I really hope that, hopefully if he could use something like, I tried yoga and it didn't work. You know what I mean? And then that would be qualifying.
All the conventional means of treating you had to have
No,
failed before you get to.
No, I mean, I just hope that it's not a
Drugs.
thing like that you have to be forced onto
Dan-
antidepressants.
Yeah.
Or,
Right.
I hope that they're not forcing
I think they
that
are.
first.
I think they are. Yes, they are.
Okay, so
I
it's-
really hope that
the-
he wouldn't have done that. And
It says Christie also directed the state's health commissioner to promulgate additional regulations that provide clear objective criteria regarding the drugs used for PTSD.
What does that mean?
so exactly what does that mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so
is it defined in law what promulgate
No, the
means?
P word. What's the P word mean?
promulgate.
Google.
I mean, that's above
Okay, Google.
That's above a 5th grade level. So, I mean, for me, it's I try
Read
to,
that again so I can
sounds
figure
like
that out in
propaganda.
context.
Okay,
I wish my
it's-
buddy Mike Pannone was here. He would basically explain this stuff in law because he's a brilliant man. And like I said, let's. What are
it
some of the
says
things?
third person present promote or make widely known. These objectives have to be promulgated within the organization. So it's to promote or make widely known.
So it's just to inform the public that the government finally says it's okay.
But this ain't no business.
But now, look, PTSD is, I
Wait.
mean, you were saying you go to the doctor, you say, look, was in the military, I served in a country where I was fighting for a war that I'm not even sure what the reason was, but I'm back and I'm safe and I'm happy. but sometimes I go back to that bad place, and it kind of spooks me out. So, I mean, I have actually a gentleman who is with Canasense. He's from the 82nd Airborne. He's the one that jumps out of the planes.
Me too. 18th Airborne Corps. I was at Bragg.
All right.
That was my first duty station.
Yeah, so he's
Tim, I hope you're listening in. And I
really?
can't believe you weren't here.
Jumping. Yep.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Tim.
Yeah, so he said he's the jumper.
Too.
He goes, I wasn't the mechanic, I was the cook. I jumped out of those planes. And, of course, he was in Kosovo, and he was protecting one of the generals when they came over. He was in full gear, and he said...
Full battle rattle, yeah.
Full battle rattle, is that what it's...
That's what it's called, yeah. Full
Okay.
battle rattle, yep.
Yeah, so he's with our company, and, of course, he's happy that Governor Christie signed into law. I mean, but at the same time, his feeling is it's my right. I'm going to do what I need to do to make sure I'm healthy and happy, and I'm happy that he's part of our group because
You know, like as a veteran, someone who's actually deployed and multiple deployments under my belt, one of the things that really gets under my skin is that I hate it when someone who has never, defended this country
sure,
tells me what is and isn't patriotism.
right,
Because, if you, and I said this a little while ago, if you take the total number of veterans and the total number of active duty military, we make up less than 1% of the population.
Well, are you familiar with the 3%ers? The term 3%ers? You can look it up and Google it. 3%ers were during the American Revolution. They said that 3% of the people stood up to the government because that's what it took to overthrow them, so that they can go from
You're talking about with the Brits and
with the British, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, it's basically been the principles of three. It's philosophically, religiously, that term of three.
Yeah, 33. Jesus was 33.
Right,
Yeah.
and I mean, you'll notice, of course, being that I'm bringing this up, you'll notice on people's cars, you'll see shirts that there's a numeral 3 with a circle around it, and that's the 3%ers. People have tattoos that say 3%ers, so those are the people that believe in the revolution, taking on the concept that individual rights supersede the government, and that the Constitution was put in place to control the government and not to control the people. So that 3%ers, you were talking about 1%. So
Yeah,
historically, it's called the 3%ers.
Right. So, with as it applies to us in terms of how we, see how things are unfolding on this front. Last week, there was the Commander in Chief's Forum at the USS Intrepid in New York. You guys see that? It was on TV.
I did not.
Okay. So
No TV.
the way it goes down is Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton both came to talk to the crowd, all made up of nothing but veterans. And before it got started, Rachel Maddow was talking, and she said, "Now look, she said these are veterans, so the candidates need to know exactly who they talking to. So you're not just going to say any old thing to them, because veterans, military personnel as a whole, veterans, they ask very direct questions, and they expect very direct answers. And if you don't give us direct answers, we're not up for the political posturing. We're not here for none of that stuff. We have a completely different mindset. And Donald Trump bombed it, if you ask me, in terms of speaking what was going on and his stance on things. But what was interesting was PTSD and TBI was being thrown out a lot by both candidates. It was being thrown out a lot. Now, what we're going to do about it was not, but it was thrown out a lot because you have veteran homelessness,
Right.
the whole 9 yards. And so what I've come to understand, particularly since I'm back in New Jersey, is that we're as soldiers, we're always taught lead from the front. A good leader leads from the front. And so if we're going to have this kind of conversation, if we're going to talk about this stuff, it's an ambulance, folks. If we're going to have these kinds of conversations, then, and have this talk, then what we need to do is we need to foster an environment where the exchange of ideas is promoted.
Sure.
Because that's what we need to do. And in that type of environment, Canasense would be what makes sense.
Right. I say common sense is common sense,
Yes,
right, Lefty?
yeah.
Lefty. Cana-sense is common sense?
I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big fan of history. I am a CPA. I've defended people against the government, typically against the IRS.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm hired to basically go through the trial and defend them as a power of attorney. And I fight based on Constitution, man. A person's right belongs to the person. Government
Absolutely.
has small roles defined, and stay there. Stay there and don't come out.
I'm going to make you a commercial. Cana-sense is
common
common
sense.
sense.
Cana-sense makes common sense.
Cana-sense
is
is
common
common
sense.
sense. There you go. There's your commercial.
It's common sense.
All right. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome there. Right?
But
Perfect timing, kid.
And in looking at again for me, taking on Roger's fight
Sure.
is very important and it will happen. And then I also I'm fighting something on two different fronts, dealing with the state government and then dealing with local because
Right.
I live here.
Sure.
And so what I see on a day-to-day basis, and the thing is that our state senators, sometimes the governor drives through the city
Sure.
and you see what they see. I mean, come on, you see it.
I went to Trenton State College, so
Okay, so
I mean,
you know, you're out there viewing, yeah,
I
so-
love this area.
Yeah,
it is stunningly beautiful. The houses in this area are beautiful, but I do see it.
Good old bones. We got some good old bones in this city.
You sure do.
But from a citizen standpoint, we have completely fallen short of our basic citizen responsibility, which is to vote. And when you look at why are you not voting, it's because there's an enormous amount of apathy running through this city. And you know what's fed that apathy? PTSD.
Sure. Education also,
Yes.
I think, has played a large part in apathy because they're shown one piece of information and not all. And this circles right back to what we're talking about, cannabis. It's people have been educated at our level that was not helpful to you. And we are learning that it is.
Yeah. We were miseducated.
We were misinformed. We were miseducated. And, we
We were
just,
lied to.
Well, we were
Yeah,
lied
yeah,
to. And
That was a lie.
well, we were they call it socially conditioning. You were socially conditioned to think that is an incorrect thing to do. When I was a kid, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I was a child that was always told stay away from that stuff. So I listened, and then as you get older, of course, you turn 21, start drinking beer, realize okay, change your personality for the good and sometimes for the bad. And then of course I was introduced to medical cannabis, and it was like wow, it's enlightening. It's makes me more creative. And helping create this company, Cana-sense, was one that was part of the mission. Realizing that when I talk to people, that it's opening their minds to new things. So, and with PTSD patients, look, if they can live in a society that accepts them, loves them, and believes that what happened in the past, hopefully they can move on from and then be happy through the use of the medicine helps.
Neil, I got a question.
Yeah.
The last case with Roger Barbour,
Yeah.
they passed the bill within 7 days. It was an amazing record. They took a two-prong approach. The first prong was the state level,
Yep.
and then the second prong was the constitutional argument.
Yeah.
Are they doing the same thing now with this next, with the nurse?
The nursing, I will find out tomorrow because I'll look through his files and I'll see what he wrote to the Department of Justice and what the Department of Justice wrote back. And then I'll have a better idea. Because Roger sat down with me. I actually gave him a constitutional card deck that actually teaches the Bill of Rights and the Constitution to people in a very simple way. It's playing cards. And hey there. So he was fascinated by the constitutional arguments. So
Really?
Yeah, he was just like, dude, we take a semester of Constitution class and that's it, and then we're told to just follow all these other laws like statutes, like statute law, right, versus constitutional law.
Right.
And I got to a point in my education that they said, listen, if you're going to fight the fight like the pros and stay in the Constitution. Don't go into the statutes. Don't go into the regulations, rules, because those are underneath the rule of law. Or
But
what
Roger did both.
he did both.
For what reason? Why did he do both?
Well, because when you're a lawyer coming out of school, you're trained to fight within the statute. If you're going at a state level, fight within the statutes. Don't fight within the Constitution. It's like if you want to fight the Constitution, you just got to go to the federal court system. And in a court system in the states, you're going to look at statutes. And I said, look, trump that. Start at the Constitution, stay in the Constitution, don't ever leave the Constitution because it limits the government's role and makes the people higher in law than the government. And I mean, it's a philosophy that isn't taught in school. It's taught the opposite way. Government makes the rules, we follow the rules, and we live within those rules. In the Constitution, they talk about that we, the people, are higher. We, the people.
Right,
Okay?
right,
We're
right.
always higher. In philosophy, in nature, in everything outside of the idea of government. Because I think, Lefty, I asked you this question. Do I have rights over you?
No.
Okay, do you have rights over me?
Yes. I could turn your sound off right now. See, I just turned you off. I just turned everyone off.
All right.
So,
well,
yeah.
I mean, he has that power right now. But of course, Lefty.
You leave a door open for Lefty.
Yeah.
He's going to walk through it.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, he's going to kick it.
He just violated my First
did. I
Amendment.
just violated
dude.
you
Seriously.
horribly. Yeah, you know.
He took me off the airways for a second.
He's always-
This is the
he's
guy
always
who
trying to
tempers him.
violate rights.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
whenever
not
Jim
here.
is not around,
Yeah.
this is what we got to deal
Got
with.
problems.
Well, I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move away
He's
from
getting
Lefty.
better, I gotta say.
Hey, what's up, Jim?
He is getting better.
So, Jim, we're talking about Roger. He did a two-pronged approach before, with the state level, at the fight at the state level, and then a fight with the constitutional law.
Right.
Now, he won on which prong did he win? The state level or both?
Well, being that Christie
Before.
signed into law the bill,
so it's
it
a moot
kind of
point.
like it's
a
just
moot
like
point.
the case goes away. It's kind of like the case will be just written off as like it's done because the bill supersedes the case, and now it's enacted by government.
The fight allowing Laura to administer Jenny's medicine, that was a fight in the courts.
That was a fight in the courts
He won.
until the bill was passed, and I don't know if the bill the case
Okay.
got settled because the
Okay.
bill trumped it.
We're still arguing the administrative.
Now we're
part of this.
arguing like, does the nurse who is
Right.
under acting as an agent for the state because they're employed by a state or public agency like public school, it's now a government concern. Now the government has to say, should that employee have the right to administer it? Because right now, Schedule 1 drug, from a federal standpoint, people are just like confused of what's the right or wrong answer. So the way to do it is you got to go through the court system.
Which one? Which court?
Well, Roger, at the point where the nurses, you could do statewide and have a
State first
state rights
and-
over the federal rights.
Right.
To say any nurse within New Jersey, licensed by a New Jersey agency, is exempted from legal action for administering medicine to a child.
Okay.
It could be done here. Roger knew this was bigger than the state. I mean, he knew that when he started the case with Jenny, he should have just went up to the federal level. I mean, when you choose your court system,
But he had a
to
reason
fight,
for doing the state fight first.
I mean, it's
He
just
did.
the typical. It's the standard approach of law. Start at the state, go through the state, get the answer at the state, and then jump to Fed. For me, my opinion is jump to the Fed, let the Fed judge say, hey, no, you know what, we're gonna. I forgot the term. Just transfer the case from the Fed court system down to the state. So you
Okay.
could try to start in a higher court, and then the higher court will say, no, this is not a constitutional issue. This is just a state issue. So you're going back home and work there.
So maybe that's why he wants to start at the state. Maybe, I don't know.
No,
Just-
he was just like, look, Neil, I knew when I did it, like, probably right after I filed, he said, damn, I should have started at the federal level.
Okay. Okay.
And he's just like, Neil, I that part in law, you were right. You should have just jumped the shark and then seen if they
There you go.
dropped you back down.
He had a benefit that wasn't planned, though, was that, if I'm not mistaken, when it failed and then his appeal failed, or it was looking like, okay, this is about to fail too, that's when the legislature stepped in, introduced a bill, and had it on the governor's desk in 7 days.
Right.
So I think they must have been watching how it worked. And because it was at the state level, they knew that was his last state option other than them, and
Yeah.
the spotlight would be on them. And that 7 day to the governor's desk was
Yeah, and I mean,
Unbelievable.
and I mean, judges also look sometimes like I don't want to deal with this case, man. But I'll do it. Go for appeal. I'll give you these appeal options. Like I'll kind of lay down some little facts to you that, of course, you can use in the appeal process. Because when you go to appeal, you got to appeal what happened in the court system at that moment, so that you can say like in the court they did this, which was basically violating X. So therefore, I'm moving it up, and that judge will vote on that. So. But Roger definitely started at the state level. He kind of was like, I could have done the Fed, but I mean, my typical procedure is this. And I said, look, I've been CPA long enough. I've typically started at the state level, but I want to start at the Fed, at the constitutional-based argument.
Is there something we're going to miss by not going at the state level first?
No, I mean, because if the Fed says, look, it's a clean slate, it's like it's like prohibition ends. I mean, from the standpoint of a nurse administering it, so they're not going to be charged with the crime under the government's rules. And I mean, for me as a CPA, I mean, everyone's like, aren't you worried about your license, your license, your license? And then I talk to doctors and they're like, I'm worried about my license, my license, my license. And I'm like, look, I'm worried about patients that are sick to be able to get medicine. So you should be able to stand up for your right as a doctor to say, it's my decision and not the government's decision to tell me what to decide for patients. It's illogical. I mean, to me, it's illogical that we're waiting for government to give these approvals. I mean, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the playing field that's there. As much as it pains me at times, it's if I don't think I can get my energy well spent on changing that. You know, when it came to post-traumatic stress, we did back up all the way to the problem was at the federal level, National Institute on Drug Abuse, not releasing the state federally sanctioned marijuana grown
Right.
in Mississippi. And when they refused to do that for an FDA-approved study using returning combat veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan diagnosed and resistant to common therapies, when they did that, I made trips to Washington to, well, okay, I got to back all the way up to here then, because I'm really tired of hearing studies haven't proven it, and we're not allowing studies. We're not doing them because nothing's ever proven. It was like really circular logic that just didn't get off that track. So, you know, when I have to back up, I do, but the federal government's just like so slow. But I would assume in the court system, federal court doesn't move any slower than state court.
I mean, it's procedure. It's they're
Yeah,
logged. They got to follow. I mean,
When it's an organization like the DEA, they spent, I believe, 9 years not replying to a petition to reschedule, and they just said no, we're not. And you know, there didn't seem to be a time limit, and so in the court system, maybe there's better resolution.
It just keeps
quicker.
shuffling around from one thing to another. I mean, it's all going to be money, power, greed.
Well, it is, and at some point, I'm glad myself that anybody here is not an enabler. We don't stay home because what are you going to do?
right.
And it's not like, well, just wave your arms and scream. It's like at least we stop and think, what'd be the best way to wave our arms? What kind of scream should we use?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
we at least try to figure it out to make it work. And that's why I'm so proud of the people that are diverse in their methods of getting things done, that they all have that.
Yeah.
They know the deck is stacked. They know the playing field is severely tilted.
Yeah.
But we're on our own little part of the playing field right here where it's fairly level. We have a right to be right here. We have a right to
Sure.
be here when the governor comes and goes. So we use it.
Roll a
Well-
joint right here.
well-
Actually, I'm going to roll a joint right now. Thanks for
well,
reminding me I had that right.
I mean, I got to bring up the
Sure, got that right.
the Attorney General issued
Send it
a
over this
statement.
way.
I think it was in 2010. It was basically police enforcement on medical cannabis patients within New Jersey. And part of that, of course, is learning the language. We talked about language before. I mean, so for patients that are out there that are listening, I mean, it's very simple. You have an affirmative defense, and that's the term, affirmative defense that you would use if a police officer pulled you over and said,
Right.
hey, I suspect you have marijuana, or it smells like you have marijuana in the car. You could say, officer, I have an affirmative defense, and here's my ID.
I don't answer questions.
Go validate
Yeah.
it, and then just let me go on my way.
Am I free to go?
I think you're wrong. I looked and I can't find it anywhere.
But again, I mean, you can use
Oh,
you
bad
can use
answer.
Lefty. You can use the challenge of not going to answer anything. But a police officer, unfortunately, is trying to do their duty. And for me, it's like respect that you want to just give them a quick answer, let them know that that's the correct answer for what's happening, and I want to go.
They should know to ask me for my card, like the cop in East Brunswick. He says, "Are you testing my patience?" I said, "No, sorry, I'm a patient." He's like, "Do you have a?" He's like, "Do you have a card?" Here you go, sir. Boom, interaction over.
So you want them to ask the question first, are you a
They
patient?
should know. They should know that if I'm smoking cannabis, they should say, "Are you a patient?" Their first question should
They
be,
should.
"You're a patient."
It doesn't take long. Yes or no. Boom. That was done.
All right, so that's how you want the
Otherwise,
attorney-
I'm not answering questions.
No problem.
it
So
should be.
if you were writing the Attorney General's guidelines, you would put in there that the police officer should ask first thing, are you a patient?
It
When
does
you
say
when you
that.
catch somebody
Okay.
consuming cannabis, you should get that out of the way. Even though 99 times out of 100 the answer would be no if it was a truthful answer. It's about patients' rights, and you almost have to assume that.
Sure.
That it might be. And are you a legal registered patient in the state of New Jersey? Yada yada yada.
I don't answer questions.
Yes or no? Yeah.
No,
Well,
I don't, here's my card. I don't answer questions.
Sure.
well,
That's
that card is an answer, but you don't have to talk to him.
But I think it's also now us learning. I mean, both sides. Like,
But
the-
yeah,
how
I'd
how-
rather educate the police.
How
though.
the
Yeah.
police need
Yeah.
to act at the same time. How does a person act so that it's
Right.
it's a
Well, you know,
Yeah, that's a good
and
idea.
The continuing education goes on in police departments. It should be a part of
Yeah.
their continuing education,
Yeah.
and that comes from the Attorney General's office, who also like to make sure that that happens. And I personally see no reason why Lefty couldn't go in, having visited more police stations and put this to the test more times than anybody. They could learn from his documented experiences, and many are good. I mean, many police
Most are good,
departments took
Yeah.
the right steps. And when I went with him one day, it's like, well, I have to call the prosecutor's office. Well, good. That's a good start. Call the county prosecutor.
Yeah.
And they did, and they came back, and now the prosecutor got asked. So the next time somebody asks him, he knows the answer.
sure, sure.
But it's not Lefty that should be doing it.
Yeah, I got better
It
shit
should
to
be
do.
some. It should. It should be.
Yeah, but that's it.
Yeah.
Lefty was brought on this earth to do this
Yeah.
right now. I think.
Well, the Attorney General, I find it strange in a state where the governor would like to be Attorney General of the United States, has an Attorney General that can't even handle getting information like this to police departments. I mean, now see, I'm saying that is, yes, that's my...
You have
my-
one
my-
job.
That's my
One job.
point, to get that optic, like, well, that sounds easy.
You're
yes,
paid to do
yes,
something.
I'm being unfair. I see the look on your
Sure.
face. I'm definitely taking the liberties to create that perception.
Are they
But that is
truly
that's the part of the
uninformed?
playing field that works
Yeah.
for us.
Well, you know what's
I'm-
funny? They know what you can't do. The cops know what you can't do, but they
Yeah.
seem not to know what you can't do.
I mean, because
everything
are they
else.
just playing like? No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a
well,
joke.
Because it's still, they still want to use it to be
course.
able to,
Low-hanging
arrest
fruit.
people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm crazy enough to always walk up to police officers to start the conversation, being the CFO for CanaSense, and just say, listen, I want to inform my patients. I want to inform the people that are trying to join and understand the process. How do police interact with individuals, and how do individuals? And when I go to different towns, I mean, it's just like, look, the commander in chief hasn't brought down that discussion point yet, so it's kind of like unknown. So I mean, they'll say to you, listen, if you're gonna smoke, if you're gonna take your medicine in a
I
dosing
have a
method-
better way to test that.
What's that?
Oh.
Well, I mean, you can go and you can talk to the police officers as you look as your CanaSense and find out how they treat you, right? And how they say they'll treat people. Or you can have someone who looks like maybe like the New Jersey weed man come up to him and ask the same thing, and then see what exactly happens, and then compare the two.
Yeah.
And then you have a good idea of what.
But that's
might
prejudging a person
happen.
for what their inner side.
No,
'cause
I'm not. I'm not
Ed-
prejudging. I'm
Ed
just
is-
saying what your interaction is not what the interaction is from someone coming from like looking like maybe a little different. Someone who's typically stereotyped anyway or profiled.
That's why we did the tour in East Brunswick, because the police
Right.
roll through that parking lot all night long, because it's all people of color and poor people, and they can get away with it, asking people
Harassing.
for IDs and, hey, you got a warrant, you got this, can I pat you down? That doesn't happen in rich white areas.
Exactly.
And that's what we're trying to expose in East Brunswick.
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
I'm only saying is it would give you a better description of what is actually,
What has happened?
Would
It-
the answer change? I mean, you could test that theory.
I mean, like, look, I'm probably the most positive guy out there. I mean, I'm always looking at the best side of things, because each of us are coming at it from different life experiences. What's going on? Like, I mean, Christie, I don't know what happened in his childhood that he's so delayed on signing a bill, but I mean, he made the right choice by getting it signed today. But so for me is I look forward from today forward, and I'm saying that today forward is, can we change the interaction between a police officer and anyone who, it's just a very simple thing, like you said, are you a patient? Yes, I am. Have a great day.
That's it.
That's it.
But I understand what you're saying and everything, that when it comes to a different person with a different color, yes, it is different.
Yeah.
So different, not to say too as like, the stuff that you're not doing in the INE chair is nothing, but I just say to as like, I completely understand. Let's
No,
just say if it
the
was
tour's a farce.
Let's just say if it
It's a
was
farce.
let's just say if it was Mr. Edward Fortune, or if it was a person of
Exactly.
me, I guarantee you I'll get harassed like
How
that.
about John?
Like-
John's a card
like a-
holder.
But
they brought
I'm
him
a card
in,
holder, but after that,
and you got brought in too.
yes,
They
and I
brought
was a
you in.
card holder.
Yeah, they
But
brought him
after
in.
that, guess what?
Yeah.
And we were all black. So at the end of the day,
But the
it
white
doesn't
guy.
matter.
Well,
There was a white guy with you. What happened to the white guy?
Oh, whatchamacallit? He doing the head crack.
And what happened to him?
Oh, he went to JoJo.
No, the white guy.
Yeah, he had. I think
He left. He
crack
walked
or dope
away.
With him. No. Oh, that was the guy.
The white guy with the medical marijuana card. There was 3 people with medical marijuana cards. 2
There are
black
children
dudes and one
Pat,
white guy.
Pat.
The white guy got let go. The 2 black guys got arrested.
Pat got
Is that
let go.
correct? Right? In Trenton. In Trenton,
It was 3 black guys.
3 black dudes and 1 white guy. The white guy got let go. They said the black guy had a fake card. Yep. They said it was a fake card. Really?
They
Well,
couldn't validate it?
You
No.
know, you know what? You
No,
know
he was
what,
in handcuffs for hours.
You know what we did to Red Line though when they said that. Did you hear me, Lefty?
Red line?
You know what we did to Red Line when they said that?
Red Lion. What about Red Lion?
You tell me, so you can calm down a little.
Another winner. Another winner.
So hello.
Hi, darling.
Jesse Sanders.
Hey, y'all. Little calmness. That was a little hate in your heart. You let it out, Lefty.
I'm very angry. I'm sorry. I'm not a hippie. I'm not. You all are hippies. I ain't. I'm
I'm-
pissed off, man.
First of all, I don't like to be categorized. Second of all, don't make my other person come out. My finger will go and my head will pop real quick, just like that courtroom.
That was great. You kicked ass that day, Jesse. I loved it.
Woo! Can I get an amen?
They were scared of you. You went in with flashcards.
So can you tell us what happened? Because I'm not
Well,
familiar with what
A
happened.
carload of patients. There were actually 3, 4, 5 of us. We went to the Red Lion State Trooper Barracks, and they wanted to act like they were very cool with us being there. Well, no one was cool with us being there until the sergeant came out. And then when the sergeant came out, he tried to say that he was familiar with the law, and he was like, "Oh yeah, take your pictures wherever you want. Why don't you go out to the sign?" We go to the sign. We do our show. We're recording. We medicate. We go. I was driving, so they were medicating. We go next door. There's a tree line in between the state barracks. I'm a little smarter than that. I parked there before I went to the police station. We walked back to my car. I'm getting ready to leave, and I look out of my peripheral to the right, and I notice not 1, not 2, but 3 state trooper cars getting ready to pull out. They wanted to catch us on this little country road with no witnesses around. My dad's a fallen officer. And so I said, well, I got a long drive ahead of me. Let me cap my gas tank off. I pull up to the gas pump. My car is in park. My keys are off. And I open my door to get out, and all of a sudden 3 cop cars swarm me like flies on. And next thing you know, they're like, get in the car, guns drawn, everything. I get out in front of my car. I complete over 8 DUI checks successfully. And I have a shirt on, ironically, Native American shirt that says Rogue American on it. And I'm standing out there telling them how my father is a fallen officer, and how are they crazy to think that I would be here doing this, and don't they think this pharmaceutical epidemic we have on our hands is a shame. And I'm making casual conversation, as you
Sure.
can see on the video. And then at the same time, they're running everyone else in the car's ID. They're asking for their license. And I get back in the car, and at this time, there are more officers that come. Hi, Ken.
Hi, Jesse.
It's good to see you.
Nice
Go,
to see
Chris
you, dear.
Christie.
I
Signing
want to
that bill.
congratulate you on your court victory.
Thank you. It was amazing because after they ran everyone's ID and they saw that there were no warrants, no tickets, no nothing, we are patients, and those handicap tags are registered to me, that they still came to my door and they wrote me a ticket for careless driving with endangering others. Now, I'm in a car successfully completing all of your tests and also educating you on the law, and you still do that because your superiors threatened you and sent every rookie in your station to come get me. Well, I showed you and the judge and 3 rooms full of people that I'm going to come get you when I'm right. And I walked in there and I saw 3 courtrooms full of people, and not one of them stand up for their rights. Not one of them represent theirself. And even if you take the public defender, minimum $250 fine that the judge rattles off so fast and says, go to the clerk and you have to pay it now. You better get on the phone to have someone bring it up here. Those were his exact words. And I am on a fixed income. I am a single person in the state of New Jersey, one of the highest tax brackets there are. I don't think I have any extra money to tell any more courts after I won my medical victory over here with my dreadlock that I'm wrong. So I went in there and I said, no, Your Honor, I'm sorry. I'm not pleading it down. The prosecutor tried to get me to plead it down the first time. I said, I am going to represent myself and I'm not guilty. Well, we have to get the officer here. Second time I go to court, prosecutor brings me to his office, tries to get me to plead it down. I said, oh, no. I had my projector in hand, my files. I was ready for court that day. I said, no, I'm representing myself and I'm not guilty. I'm sure looking pretty crazy, but in my dress and my heels
not
ready
crazy.
to go. Well, no, not to me. And all the other people in the courtroom were baffled because not one of them. I saw out of 3 court dates the state of New Jersey make over $1.5 million off fines and fees. Because if you get caught with just a gram of cannabis and say you have your little glass pipe with you or some papers, that's possession and paraphernalia and a minimal $2,400 fine. Do you know how many of those $2,400 fines I saw? And for each one, I handed them my card. Every one of them, right there in court. And then the officer wasn't there that day, and technically they should have thrown it out, but the judge says, oh no, we have to subpoena the officer. I didn't say anything. I was like, okay, I'll make this 2-hour and 30-minute drive again. And the next time I came, and Lefty was able to come there, and he showed up, and I didn't know I was late. Well, he had to medicate out in front of the courthouse, and I didn't know this until I saw the video. And I'm in there, going over my notes and just like nervous, ready, and projector and a screen, and Lefty's coming in stanking up the room, just stanking up the room. And I don't know what happened, but the officer approached him, and then Lefty taps me on the shoulder and says, don't be mad, I narked you out. I told him that you were a patient. I said, that's fine, I don't care. And then the cop comes up to me. Now, this is a courtroom that's so packed that the doors are open and people are outside, and this is a municipal traffic court. This is just fines, fees, and taking money from the people. He says, I need to talk to you. I said, okay, and I walked out of the courtroom. He said, are you a medical marijuana patient? I said, well, I am, but why is that any of your business? And he said, I need to see your card. I said, why? He said, because somebody came in here smelling like weed. I didn't think about it at the time because I was focused on my case, but now that I've had time to marinate on it, why did you just ask me and not any of the 200-300 other people that were in that courtroom? But I showed him my card, and then I educated him for about 15 minutes. So I'm sure he wasn't happy he asked me for my card. Let's just say that, because I can talk. And then I was like, I can't miss my court date now. I need to get back in those doors. And then about 2 files later, what do you know? It was Miss Jessie Sanders, so they could get me out of there so that I couldn't educate anybody else in that courtroom. And they said a judge that went from this, tapping his pen on his chest, cocky, loud as could be, Mr. Andraki, I think you are a great judge as far as knowledge, but then after I saw the way that you handled me, you are just about money. Because he said, from a loud-speaking man like this, to tell you your rights and what you could do, to say, Miss Sanders, prosecutor so-and-so, and officer so-and-so, and officer so-and-so, and Mr. Public defender so-and-so has tried to reach out to the trooper, and because the trooper's not here, we're going to have to throw this out and dismiss.
Sure.
And I literally went into, like, holy moly donut shop, because when I walked up, I went to go bring out my files that I had tabbed and highlighted.
Sure.
And he said, oh, no, Miss Sanders, there's no need for that.
Well, you fought the fight. I mean, you stuck with it, which was crazy.
Yeah, but they wouldn't let you fight it.
Some people.
But when he saw me pull my stuff out, and then he had to say no, guess what I said? And I couldn't hold it in. I said, shock, awe, okay, Jesse, get it together. And I was like, oh, my God, Mr. Andraki, you're the best judge I've ever had the pleasure of sitting in front of, and thank you, praise the Lord, amen.
Sure,
And I ran
sure.
out.
Sure, but you got to realize he's following procedure.
Guess what he said, though? Miss Sanders, you can leave now. You can turn around out of the courtroom and you can leave, because he didn't want me to sit there for not another court date to educate not another person. And I told Lefty when he was there, but the 2 court dates prior, I said, why are you guys doing this? Represent yourself. Know the laws.
Well, that video evidence that you had, Jesse, was just so damning. I saw it. I mean, the state police just absolutely admitted that they were retaliating against you for for doing an INE tour at their state police station.
They gave me, I
Well-
think it was 4 different reasons. They were like,
Yeah.
oh, you should be glad I didn't write you for this, that, the third, and the other. No,
Right.
because you couldn't write me for anything because I don't have any speeding tickets.
Right.
I'm just a broke down little girl that operates during the daytime.
Well, Ed Hahnemann, whom you met, CMMNJ board member and a lawyer.
I left him a message.
Oh, you left him a message? Good. Yeah, he suggested that you file a complaint with the superintendent of the state police over that conduct. You know that?
I've wanted to
it's not
talk to
appropriate
someone
for,
about
for
it.
state police to go and retaliate against people for trying to educate them about the medical marijuana laws. So we had a good response from the state police Colonel, I believe it is, Fuentes from the state police, when one of the state policemen here told us that we couldn't carry on a demonstration because we lacked the proper permit. And we only had a few people. We had like just a few people, and the rules said that if you have like less than 10 people, you don't need a permit. So anyway, we complained to the Colonel Fuentes about that, and he wrote us a very nice letter back, and he educated the state police about what the proper procedure was for people who come in small demonstrations here at the State House.
That tour that we were doing, even the officers, and I don't even know how many, I mean, there were at least 5, maybe 6 prior to us getting to the sergeant. They said there was no medical marijuana law, and even after the sergeant told us to go outside and take our pictures, there was an officer coming out getting into his car, and he even said, no, you're not allowed to do that here. I mean, it's ridiculous. A 9-year-old law? Come on now, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're all learning. I mean, that's the thing that I'm aware of as a CPA, that some people are just unaware of procedures, and through time, I mean, they're going to learn this. And of course, with what you're doing, you're teaching others now, which is awesome.
Well, I guess it's something good to tell now. I have in the works, fingers crossed, my Compassionate Care Center should be opened in Woodbury on Red Bank Avenue if all the legalities go work. And it's going to be a place to where people can come and get educated on the program, their rights, the law, but it's also going to be a place where these disability forms, if you need help filling them out because they make it like hieroglyphs, you can come and you can call up the crazy hippie that's over there on Red Bank and she'll help you out. Because you know what? The information that I learned by fighting my growing weed myself and being the first person to win in my house, because I'm a truly broke down person, and I wouldn't take no for an answer there either. 4 judges, 5 prosecutors, 3 attorneys. I want people to be able to learn from my $150,000 and not make the same mistakes, or just go forth and maybe sit back and scratch their head if their mom comes in and she doesn't want to talk to them because they smoke pot like mine, and then maybe she'll walk out and have a different opinion.
So you've started a compassionate care center? You're
The
saying,
legality's
Jesse?
going through and the lease is on the table, and I want to have my doctor 100% in my pocket, but I think I'm just going to have to go forth with my northern doctor because he has this 12-year-old that has cancer, and I don't want to rush him, you know. Which I went rogue into his office with some tincture and some CBD
we
pills.
certainly wish you a lot of luck with it. But, there really should be formal outreach from the Department of Health or the Attorney General's office, really, to all law enforcement officers in the state of New Jersey
They don't want to do
about
that.
this program. Well, they should.
Yes,
they
sir, they
absolutely
should.
There's no question about it. That there needs to be formal education, training about this program, because there's so much ignorance. It shouldn't be up to Lefty and you to drive around to police stations to find out,
Spending
how much,
our own money,
how much
wondering
ignorance
if we're
there
going to
is.
get arrested, wondering if we
Yeah.
have to go to these court dates.
Yeah.
I'm
And
jealous.
Jecca-
They got the damn pen from Christy.
What's that, Jecca?
I wanted to go and get the pen from Christy, and Leo beat me to it. You see
You
it?
are the man.
You see it? Oh,
You
I
deserve
wanted
it, though.
to
You
do that.
testified. And Leo has a very special story. Do you know where Leo found out about this place and how Leo started to get involved on what day? On 420. When he saw us crazy people doing our protest, he asked me on the sidewalk right over there, what is this? What are y'all doing? And I explained it to him. He supported it. And from that day forward, I said, come up tomorrow. We have our radio show. And look at him now. He testified, and he's holding Governor Christie's pen. That's a beautiful thing.
You got a pen from Governor Christie?
The one he signed the bill, it's right in his hand right now
Is that
behind
right?
you. Yeah, look.
Oh,
Isn't that great,
that's
Ken?
terrific. That's terrific.
It's like Christmas
yeah.
Day, but
I
better.
know,
Yeah,
right?
Nobody deserves it more than Leo, one of the veterans who testified
Exactly.
at these committee hearings. You know who they were up against? They were up against the New Jersey Psychiatric Association.
Of all people.
Representatives from the New Jersey Psychiatric Association came to Trenton to testify against allowing marijuana therapy for post-traumatic stress
We have
disorder.
major problems in Delaware with getting psych doctors. You can't find a psych doctor to sign for medical marijuana.
That's what I want my site to be for.
In Delaware, you must have not only a physician recommend
No way.
marijuana, but you have to have your psychiatrist recommend. And of course, for the veterans, that was absolutely next to almost impossible for
Because
any
that's
of them.
federally funded VA hospital stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to.
And who do we lay the blame on for the 20 or 22 suicides a day? You know, who but the
I gotta get a picture of
the Psychiatric Association? You know, these are the people who approve the current treatments for post-traumatic stress disorder, and these current treatments are practically worthless. You know, or if not worthless, they're actually causing
They're
harm.
causing
Some
much
of them,
harm.
Some
much
of them
harm.
cause suicide. You know, some of them contribute to accidental overdose deaths.
Almost all of your antidepressants have a suicide warning on them.
Yeah.
I believe they're all black label, all black box warning for suicide. So Xanax and other, I mean, all of our drugs that we use to calm you down, it should not have to be. And this is what I'm worried about with the PTSD in Jersey as well, as if they're going to require that you go on medication in order to qualify for PTSD, because that's a problem. You know, because these drugs are so dangerous, and the fact that they're all theories as well. I mean, it's a theory that serotonin being low is the cause of depression, and that I mean, and that it is still just a theory that they go on, and no way to measure those levels in the brain.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it would just make more sense to do the one that would cause least amount of harm first. I mean, that's kind of what the whole oath was, do no harm.
The problem is they do brain surgery before. That's like before cannabis.
I know. This is, I don't understand it.
Yeah, brain surgery. They took out part of Jenny's brain, a golf ball-sized part of Jenny's brain, before they would allow medical marijuana.
And guess what?
And
She had a
that's-
seizure on the way
no.
home. She had a seizure after that.
That is not acceptable. That is the point when you have to just stand up and go, you know what? No, I'm not doing this anymore. All right? I'm not going to cut open my kid's brain before trying a plant. I'm going to find somebody, I'm going to find it, and I'll make the darn medicine myself. There's instructions all over the internet on how to do this.
Well, you know, I think
I will absolutely do it. For anybody, how could you possibly, if you were a patient in the medical marijuana program in any state, and you were approached by someone whose child was dying from cancer, and they couldn't get it, their doctors wouldn't sign, what would you do? Could you absolutely, honestly, even live with yourself to not give it to them?
Well, you know what? There are people that are that sick because they watch the local news and they've been fed that all their life. I mean, even the person that I went rogue with, he asked me how to administer it to his child. I gave him a vial of liquid, and then I gave him capsules. But I think that he was just honestly scared to death that if his child goes in and he got his weight up and he could get another chemo type treatment that he needed, and they tested him and found that in his system,
That
now they're
they would
looking at
stop
him.
treating his.
Yes, and
they
he's in that
will,
position right now.
because
He's
they
90 pounds and 12 years old with
do.
cancer. 90 pounds.
They absolutely do. In the state of Delaware, this has happened, and it's unbelievable that any human being could actually do this. And any doctor who signed an oath to do no harm could do this, but they do. If they find marijuana in your system, they can stop treating you. They can just say, okay, see you done. Now we're not going to treat you at all. And there are
they
so
threaten to
many.
throw you out of a
They
hospital
do.
if
They
you-
threaten to throw you out.
Happened
and
to me.
They kick you out of the practice, and then you're left to try and find another cancer doctor. Wow. You know, and there are lots of studies that show. Now, I really don't like medicine at all. I truly don't. But I understand that when a doctor's coming at you and they're all of a sudden you have this diagnosis and it's tomorrow you're starting chemo, and this is going to save your life, and you need to believe that doctor. You want to believe that they have the best intentions at heart and that they are looking to save your life, and you need to believe it.
You
'cause
need
that's
hope.
all-
You're
you
looking
need
for hope.
You need hope,
It's
right?
important.
But if that same doctor is not willing to allow you hope with marijuana, then that's a corrupt doctor who's just
Yeah.
looking for money, and you need to find someone else. You need to run, because that is someone who's looking for money.
Well, it's a shame. It's hard to find, and I speak of this, a doctor that gives a good blessed about your health, your true health, because they look at me, they look at my injuries, and they status quo you right away. Well, I already know that I have scar tissue. I already know that my bones are titanium and screwed, and I have scoliosis, and my vertebrae are this and that. But doc, what are we gonna try to do to give me the best quality of life so I can keep on keeping on? But it's not giving them any money with a script. It's not giving them any money with them not doing any type of routine. If I'm sitting, they're sending me recommendations to another person, and then all the holistic treatments aren't covered under insurance. If I could truly afford to have massage therapy and acupuncture 4 or 5 times a day, I'd be a whole different person. Whole different person. But that every $100 a pop, you have to think. Boom, boom. Who could afford like $1,000 a week in medical treatment plus
Only
my
the
cannabis?
rich.
Not
Only
this
the
one.
rich.
Not this one.
Only the
Yeah.
rich.
There really is an unholy alliance among the physician community and the pharmaceutical industry. They really are supportive industries for one another, and that's very unfortunate because alternative therapies are frowned on or not allowed by the physician community, and there's a great deal of ignorance in the physician community about the therapeutic benefits of marijuana. Where do they learn these things? Well, they learn them 2 ways. They learn them in med school, or they learn them through continuing medical education. And the endocannabinoid system is only discussed in 14% of the medical schools in the United States, and there's no incentive for physicians to learn about the endocannabinoid system and about how therapeutic marijuana can actually be.
It goes back to what I said, Ken. There's no money in a cure, and there's no money without a comeback.
Right, you don't get continuing education points for going to those classes, right?
Right.
It's only
Yeah.
for your own benefit that you go. But when you're a doctor, most of the doctors I knew in the hospital were kind of busy. You know what I mean? They were usually pretty busy.
Right, and that's the other thing. They don't have any incentive to learn because they are very wrapped up in their own specialties. Most physicians specialize. Even family physician can be considered a specialty. So what they want to do is they want to refer you, if you have a specific problem, to a specialist in that area. So if your back hurts, they send you to a back doctor. If you're requesting marijuana, they want to send you to a marijuana doctor. Which is just the way medical practice is in the United States. And unfortunately, there are very precious few doctors who specialize in marijuana therapy in New Jersey. So there's really nobody to send them to. And then you run into the burdens that patients run into in New Jersey, that these, if you want a marijuana consultation, you have to pay out of pocket for that marijuana consultation. It's not covered by insurance.
Right. Same with in Delaware.
Yeah.
It's we have Canna Care in Delaware, and we do have a doctor who specializes, Dr. Matthew Roman. He does specialize for.
Oh, you do have one, yeah.
We do. We have a doctor in Delaware that does specialize for medical marijuana, but he is a doctor and takes regular patients
Right.
as well. And then there's Canna Care in Delaware as well that people can go to, and then they use their own records. But it's recommended that they use their family physicians, and they do have a lot more family physicians starting to sign on to the medical marijuana program. It seems like it's starting to go through a little bit more, and that there are more doctors a little more comfortable with signing. I still hear that blanket statement that Christiana Care isn't allowed to do that, but that's kind of funny because I work there and I never heard that at all. And I even had HR on me about it for a situation. So, they weren't against medical marijuana at all. But, you hear that, some doctors will say, oh, it's just a blanket rule, we can't do it. Instead of just being honest and saying, I don't want to sign for you, they just lie.
Do the physicians have to belong to a registry in Delaware where they have to register with the health department in order to take part in this program, or can any doctor?
I believe it's any doctor in the state of Delaware. It just has to be a licensed doctor in the state that does the formal. It's just a recommendation, that they.
Right. Yeah. Sure. Well, that's good. That's an advance over New Jersey's program.
I'm struggling.
Although
getting mine.
Delaware's problem with the PTSD though is that you have to have a psych doctor sign, and there are very few. There's only one that I know of in the state of Delaware that does sign for medical
Like, you really
marijuana.
want to go to a psych doctor to be told, hey, yeah, you do have something wrong with you because you did do something or go through something or but. No, you just need to go to your doctor so they can say, hey, you know what, you want to help yourself, Not let's send you to two doctors like an outcast and let you relive whatever's giving you your PTSD. They don't think about it like that.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why, like, for my depression, I was always treated by my family doctor, and that was allowable. He put me on the
Right.
antidepressants, and he
Right.
put me on antipsychotics. You know what I mean? But now, for me, and he diagnosed me with PTSD, but in order for me to have gotten approved for that in the state of Delaware, I would have had to find a psychiatrist
Yeah.
to actually treat me and change meds over to a psych doctor in order to get that same.
If I had to go to a psych
Makes no
doctor again,
sense.
I think it'd make me want to slice my wrist. Just because when you go there, they want you to live and die in those negative thoughts. I mean, that to me was, maybe it worked for some people, but for me, it was not a good choice. And to be forced to have to take that choice, my God, I could only imagine how far back I would go.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. You know, it's a very delicate thing to have to deal with from a physician's perspective. If you want to explore what kind of problems led you to have PTSD, you're remembering those very problems. You're exacerbating the problem just by the very act of going for help for those problems.
Like, we couldn't even play war movies in our house due to my grandfather in World War II, and that, that wasn't diagnosed back then,
Right.
but he for sure had PTSD. My uncle's from Vietnam. We couldn't clap in church because the noises and stuff. I mean, PTSD is real in raw forms, but we shouldn't tell my grandfather he should have had to have relived those war stories to be able to get the medication that could have saved his life.
Right.
No way. Or a woman who's raped, we shouldn't have her talk about the situation that she's
Right.
trying to push way
Right.
far out of her mind.
Right. Yeah. Right. Relive all the very, very painful details that led up to that diagnosis.
But everyone wants another doctor, another handout, another bill, and they all think they know how to treat you better than yourself. When did it stop being your choice on how to treat yourself? Why did we all of a sudden give all the power to everybody else?
Yeah.
And if you look at our country, it's kind of the same racket everywhere.
Exactly.
Well,
No matter where you go.
Well, but that's one of the reasons that we really have endorsed legalization and taxation and regulation of marijuana in New Jersey. To get away from these problems that you're so eloquently talking about, Jesse and Jekka. So many people can benefit from marijuana therapy that the best way to approach it really is to make it available to anyone, any adult who wants to use it. That really centers the healthcare equation back on the patient. Makes for a patient-centered healthcare system, especially if you include home cultivation, because here, the very act of growing marijuana can be therapeutic, and then
Absolutely.
patients using it, they don't have to.
They're so pretty.
They are.
Yeah.
Oh my
They
gosh,
give off
yes.
an energy that is just.
I'm going to show you a picture that's going to make you just cry.
All right, hold on, guys. Listen,
Look,
we're going to
you
call.
actually can't look at a picture of marijuana
Yeah.
and not smile. It's not physically
I know
possible.
it's very lovely, Clarence.
We're going to give a call to Laura Barbour right now. And
Now, are you allowed to grow in Jersey?
That's not me, and we
Yeah,
can't
no.
show that picture on film, but that's my friend, and she happens to be pregnant and at the happiest she's ever been.
No, you're not allowed to grow in New Jersey unless you're an alternative treatment center.
And that's so dangerous for a pregnant woman to be
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
So dangerous.
They do.
Hello, this is Barb.
hi, Laura. It's Lefty. You're on the air. How you doing?
Hi, Lefty. I'm good. I'm sitting at T-Mobile right now online, trying to get a lower phone plan.
Oh, okay. Can you take me off the speakerphone so I can just hear you?
Oh, I'm off the speaker.
Okay, good. So we're having a memorial here for Roger. We all miss him terribly. I know you do. It's a horrible thing. We're trying to figure out what he would do next, and we're thinking he would go the state route, because the reason why he went the state route the first time, tell me if I'm wrong, is because he wanted to find the fastest route to get something done for Jenny immediately, to get the most attention and to get something done, the foot in the door. That's why he went the state
right,
route.
and it's a state issue, I believe.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Hi, Laura. This is Ken Walski. I'm also here at the podcast. I want to
Hey,
extend
good.
my
I'm glad.
yeah. I want to extend my sympathies and condolences on your loss, and I miss Roger terribly already. You know, he was such a terrific advocate for medical marijuana, and everything he did to make it available in schools was just wonderful. And you know, now we need to expand on the work that he's done.
Exactly. And I was telling Lefty, it's kind of ironic because what we were fighting for is not just for our family, for like single parents and mothers, and now I am that.
Right. Right. And it's nice. We have a couple of bills. Assemblyman Greenwald introduced a bill to, make it easier for for children to get their medical marijuana in schools. And, we certainly hope that that's going to have a favorable committee hearing when it's introduced. A4026 is the bill that was introduced. And, we hope that, it's going to be looked on favorably in committee.
All right, because I know that I called Greenwald and Lampeter,
Right.
and when the bill goes up where people can talk, I'm unable to talk because I have to up front, but my daughter to
I'm sorry. You're breaking up a little, Laura. You say you're not able to talk because what?
no, no. What I'll step outside. What I found out is that Marley would like to speak to the Senate and the Assembly. My daughter, my 13-year-old daughter.
Right.
I saw that.
So I put a phone call into them to find out a date. And then right after that they have a vote, correct?
Yes. Yeah. They will vote in committee. It'll go to an assembly committee, and then the committee will vote. There's usually maybe less than 10 people on the committee, and then the assembly will vote based on the testimony that's received at that committee. And then it'll have to go through the Senate, and the same process. It goes through a committee in the Senate, and then it goes to the full Senate. And if it passes out of the committee, then it goes to the full Senate. And if it passes out of the Assembly committee, it goes to the full Assembly. And then that bill would go to the governor's desk for his signature. So it's a long process.
But wait, Ken, you left out that after the governor signs it, he creates extra rules of his own, right? That's what he does for every bill as well.
Well, sometimes,
Right, because I just heard that about the post-traumatic stress. Right.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll have to wait and see what those regulations are. All laws are enacted through the regulatory process, and it really is up to specific executive branch departments like the Department of Health to enact these rules, to develop.
But Ken,
to propose regulations, to put them up for public comment, to adopt the regulations, and then promulgate the regulations.
That's all true, but very few governors have gotten involved with that process. You're absolutely right, Ken. Ken is laying out what the process should be. What we don't see in many states is a governor, and in this case Governor Christie, saying that he will direct promulgation of specific rules that he feels like putting in, and that's what we've seen over the course of the whole program. Yeah. Hey, Laura, it's Chris Goldstein.
But that doesn't surprise you.
No, it doesn't, Laura. I also want to say, hey, it's Chris Goldstein, and I just want to say, hey, it's so awesome seeing, my daughter plays on softball teams in the league with yours, and it's so awesome seeing you guys out there. So I just wanted to say hello before we start going off on how bad Governor Christie is on this stuff.
Thank you, Chris. I know how I talked to you that one time, and I'm telling you, everybody up there at the podcast is like, I can't even explain how appreciative I am to everybody that tries to forward, everything that we're trying to do. I don't know how far I can take this because I'm month-on, but we'll see how it goes through the legislation first.
Yeah.
We'll take one step at a time.
What's step one? What's step one here?
So you think that Marley may be the one to testify? Is that what you were saying, Laura?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's not a problem with that. I'm sure that
That's awesome.
The Assembly Committee could work with that. I heard she did a very nice job at the memorial.
The funeral.
Yeah, the funeral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did the eulogy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
and she's got a bunch of people that will help her. I'm sure Jim Miller and all you guys would help. Before we sign, seal, and deliver it, you could put your input in on it.
Yeah. All right. Great.
Are we also going to Senator Cruz to get her to pass some bill in the Senate? Was that on the table? Ricardo was supposed to talk to Senator Cruz about this, apparently.
Is that adding opioid addiction to qualifying conditions?
No, making the nurse be the one, the caregiver for.
Oh, that's interesting.
Jenny.
Yeah, in Pennsylvania, that's one of the things about the new medical marijuana law there is that it's not just doctors that can recommend, but nurse practitioners also have the ability to recommend in the program in Pennsylvania. That should probably be the case. Yeah, Maryland. And a lot more states are exploring that, mainly because if you think about it, our healthcare system of today, we're all going to like urgent care instead of the hospital, instead of the ER. These are all nurse practitioners. Nurse practitioners are really a part of everyday healthcare today, so they should be able to recommend.
Well, they do everything a doctor does, really.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We tried to get that into the New Jersey law, but unfortunately they wouldn't go for it. We're still committed to allowing nurse practitioners to recommend marijuana therapy in New Jersey. So
not only that, they're all as handsome as Ken Wolski. And you should have seen I was over Ken's house one day and I saw some pictures of him from the 1960s and 70s.
Oh man,
he looked like a male model. I mean, I swear to God. I mean, he looked like a Ralph Lauren model. Like he really did. He was amazing.
So hot.
If all nurse practitioners looked like Ken Wolski, they would approve that for medical marijuana like yesterday. No problem.
You guys are cracking me up.
Plus, none of that is true, what Chris just said.
First
of all, I'm not a nurse practitioner. I'm a registered nurse.
That counts. You can be a nurse practitioner. If you would be registered, I mean, that's the other thing about Pennsylvania and these other states is they say nurse practitioner, but they mean registered nurses as well. And in fact, Ken, you were in.
That's a big difference.
Well, but you're allowed to. What they mean when they say nurse, they're saying the broad range of nurse practitioners that are out there and nurses in general. So if you're an RN who's in charge of hospice care, or if you're a nurse practitioner that's running a health clinic, you would, across that breadth of experience, you'd be able to make the recommendation. Basically, any healthcare professional, we want to be able to recommend cannabis therapy. Not necessarily because...
You know what? It shouldn't even be a Schedule 1. It should be in the vitamin world.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Amen.
And that's what, when we say health professionals, like, you should be able to get a cannabis recommendation from, like, your physical therapist.
Right.
And things like that, too.
I'm with you. Because you know what? If you want to go down the avenue of the evils of alcohol, and that's legal, I mean...
Well, and also, I mean, just this week, it used to be for a long time, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration never asks, they do these big annual surveys on drug use, and they ask people how many drugs they use. And they do it in age groups. But they never looked at how many people get prescribed painkillers, tranquilizers, and sedatives until the most recent survey. And they found out that there are 145 million Americans who have been prescribed opiates, painkillers, sedatives, or tranquilizers in the last 10 years. That's half of the country. I mean, that's half of all Americans. I mean, that's less than about 100 million Americans will buy alcohol this year.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, Laura, I mean, when people talk about the opiate addiction crisis, that's the tip of the iceberg. The opiate addiction crisis didn't start 2 years ago when people started buying some street heroin laced with the fentanyl. It started 12 years ago when they started prescribing OxyContin, Vicodin, Adderall, Ritalin,
I believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is huge. And again, medical marijuana is the alternative. So when we talk about how to battle the opiate addiction crisis, to me, it's fairly simple. One, detox and treatment for opiate addicts, and then immediately give them as much free marijuana as possible. So, because in the end, it's only like the studies that we see that drop opiate addiction and overdose rates, and the studies that we see that help with PTSD and marijuana, it's only when it's affordable and easily accessible, when people can choose to use these things as an alternative in their lives and say, today, I'm not going to take this oxy, I'm going to smoke this marijuana instead. They have to, it's an individual choice, and you have to be able to give people that choice.
Well, when they allow us to write off our marijuana drug, I'll be happy.
You're breaking up just a little bit there, Laura.
Can you repeat that, Laura? You're breaking up.
I'm just saying that when the government allows me to write off my expense for marijuana, I'm happy. Because it's cash out.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry, Laura, you are breaking up a little bit, but
You know what? I'm sorry. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go because you can't hear me anyway.
Yeah, you're breaking up, but I just we're going to try to get this bill going through with Senator Cruz. That's going to be one of the step ones. We have step 1, 2, and 3, I think, already, and we're going to do what we can to help you. I believe the board has an attorney that can do a lot of this work, right? I don't want to speak for Ed, but I think maybe Ed can help out, or somebody on the board can help out with this. We're all going to help out, Laura.
Yeah.
We're going to figure this out.
Good.
We're problem solvers.
You guys, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'll keep in touch.
All right, Laura.
Yeah, great
All
talking
right,
to you, Laura.
signing off.
And
Thank
switch to
you.
Sprint.
Bye-bye.
T-Mobile sucks. Go to Sprint. Bye.
I'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, but that's the other argument for taxing and regulating and legalizing marijuana in New Jersey, because it really is the most efficient and effective way to meet the needs of so many patients in the state who can benefit from the therapeutic qualities of marijuana. And you know, our CMMNJ has joined with New Jersey United for Marijuana Reform and the NAACP in New Jersey and the ACLU in New Jersey and the municipal prosecutors in New Jersey, Municipal Prosecutors Association, that have all endorsed taxation and legalization and regulation of marijuana. It really is the best. So that's what we're looking at long term. We think maybe 2018 will be able to have a bill pass in the legislature and be signed by the governor. And so we're working to build support for that now.
Sorry to interrupt, guys. I actually have to leave. I got class.
We knew you had class. That's
Yeah.
why we invited you to be here, Leo.
And I'm going to class, and I'm going to talk smack because a lot of people told me no. A lot of people told me this wasn't going to happen. A lot of people said impossible. And look, we made the impossible possible. Is this the end all be all? No.
Yeah, no.
A lot of work to do.
What's next, Leo?
Very
What's
important
next?
step.
What's next is getting Rogers' bill through.
Damn right.
And then, like for me and Ken on the local level, it's time to
Work in Trenton.
Yeah. This gives us credibility, Ken.
Yeah.
This gives us a totally different level of credibility going into that conversation that you didn't have the last time you. And I'm going to be with you.
Yeah. Thank
You
you.
know,
Leo.
and I'm dead serious because at this point, now that PTSD is a part of the program, in the city of Trenton, this has now turned into a rescue operation. That's what this is. This is a rescue operation. We have to get this medicine to the masses. We have to educate, we have to re-educate, and we have to spread the word, and we need to start changing because the studies are coming back. States who have, expansive medicinal marijuana programs are seeing a significant drop in opioid abuse and addiction issues. And they're seeing a drop in the number of prescriptions being written.
Yeah.
So to me, with everything that we are dealing with from a local standpoint, yesterday, 6 people were shot in like a 30-minute time span.
Yeah. So I have the times here. It says violent night. 6 people.
6 people.
Yeah.
So that's 6 people who are suffering from PTSD right now, who could be. And then the people that's around them.
Right.
And then their families, because there's direct and indirect PTSD.
Secondary stress disorder.
So again, this is now turned from as far as I am concerned, locally, this has now turned into a rescue operation.
Wow.
Because we got to get this medicine. It's medicine. And there's a lot of people in this city and children who are suffering from this, suffering and living with PTSD. I love you guys. I'm proud of you. Congratulations.
Proud of you.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Very proud of you, Leo.
Leo.
Thank you for
Congratulations.
standing
Proud of
up,
you guys.
man.
Yeah. And I couldn't.
Unbelievable.
This wouldn't. Listen, there's no me without you. So I've learned a lot. And I still got a ways to go.
I'm so proud of how you took on the New Jersey Psychiatric Association in that testimony. I just can't get over that, Leo. You guys were great.
They weren't prepared for that. Yeah. they were not prepared
for the
that.
truth.
Yeah. No, I mean, in all honesty, Ken can tell you, they were very uncomfortable.
I wonder why.
With my testimony, they were really uncomfortable. But that's what it needs. That's what that environment fostered hopefully it can continue on to foster an environment where the exchange of constructive ideas and conversations can take place. And we need to be at that table when those conversations happen, if not just initiating it. And that's where I'm at right now. So we still have a lot of work to do, and I'm still getting my marching orders from Ken and from you and from Jim, and then I have my own, aspirations as far as the city, because I just moved back here and I see my city needs help. And so, okay, let's do this.
Well, Jenny Barbour needs help right now, immediately. So, Jenny Barbour, we're coming to help you.
Amen. Amen. All right, I love you guys.
Thank you for what you're doing, Leo.
Love you, Leo.
Leo,
Yes, please.
You are wow. What is that? I didn't even see that. Is that like what I think it is?
That's some gummies.
Oh,
those are some gummies I messed up. They're my
A couple slices.
Messed
absolutely. Go ahead. They're normally when I do my gummies, they're usually in a marijuana shaped mold, because I want it to be identifiable as marijuana because of the issues that they were having in Colorado with the gummy bears, and I don't want it. I want it to be able to look like marijuana, but I messed up the batch, so those came to be squares. My bad. My gain, actually. It's my gain, your gain. I share.
I'm getting me another Rice Krispie treat.
So, Leo, did that make your day, seeing the governor? Just a
Okay. Oh, all right.
How did you-
icing on the
wait,
cake.
how did you
right?
get the pen?
Come on.
How did you
Come
get
on,
the pen?
how'd you get that pen, by the way? Yeah.
All right.
We have questions. You can't leave.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay. So, governor gets out the truck, and we jump up, and I said, okay, everybody jumped up at the same time, and so I realized there was nobody manning the mic, so I said, Governor, thank you for what you did, blah 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 blah, and he goes, okay, thank you for your service and yada yada yada, and I said, and I want one of the pens you use to sign that bill. And he looked up and he said, you can have the pen. And I said, okay. So I walked my happy ass up in that building to go get that damn pen.
You went right to his office and got the pen.
And then
Why didn't you get me? You know I wanted to meet him. You knew I wanted to meet him, Leo. I'm so mad at you over that. No, I wanted to have dinner. I had this dream of having lunch with Christy. I wanted to go to the joint with Mr. Christie. I mean, come on. I would have paid him. I would have paid the man anything. And I do mean anything.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
No, I'm only kidding.
Wait a
I'm
minute.
not anything.
Time out, though.
I have some.
The only person. Let me tell you what I was thinking. The only person that I was thinking about walking up in there with me was Philippe Dumais.
Oh, why is that?
Because, number one, Philippe's a veteran, and he also testified in Senate committee.
Yes, he did.
So as far as I was concerned, all of us was deserving of pens, because I was, and so
I
I'm
just
like,
wanted to meet him.
yeah. So I said to Philippe, I was
I
like,
would have
hey
given
man,
you the pen.
I said to Philippe, I was like, hey man, I'm about to go up in there and get that thing, and Philippe was like, you know what? Go ahead, bro. Go ahead. He was like, I'm good. Go ahead.
So you went in?
So I went in. And the state trooper was in there, the real cool one, and he's like, he's like, what are you here for? I'm like, well, I just saw governor, and he told me I can have the pen that he used to sign Bill S2345, and I would, I'm here to pick it up. So he calls the office, and the secretary's like, did the governor say that you can have? I was like, yes, we just saw him. He's talking, and so they were like, okay, and then he hangs up, and next thing you know, his secretary's coming out, and she's like, here's the pen, and I'm like,
He didn't give it to you himself.
no, they didn't even let me get through. Come on now. I know I said I was going to walk myself in here, but look at me. Are you serious? You know what I'm saying? Look, that exchange right there was about as far as it was about as good as it was going to get. Could you imagine if he let me in the office?
Oh.
I'm coming out with more than just a pen.
Yeah.
I've been hanging around Lefty and just.
Grab whatever you can.
Hey, listen, I'm taking my phone. I'm snapping selfies, sitting in his chair. You know what I'm saying? I would have jumped up on the desk.
I'm too scared. I want to ask him out to lunch, and I'm too scared.
Oh, please.
Oh,
I am.
Go for it.
Do you honestly think he'd turn down lunch?
Yeah, he would never turn it down.
I think you would.
No.
I don't even have the courage to do it, and I want to. I want to just sit and talk to him, and
See, the problem is that you're not pissed off.
Lefty shook hands with
right
him today.
now.
Yeah.
But I don't want to have a
was
pissed off
huge.
conversation with him.
No, just the eyes. But
The
that
shock
was
guy,
huge. I
yeah.
was shocked. I was like, what, Lefty?
I want to understand him. I do. I want to. I want to understand him because I
Remember
don't.
when you explained to me that condition?
Yeah.
And you said it's just.
Oh no! I mean he don't. No. I mean I'm not looking for proof or validation or anything on.
Okay.
I'm actually just. I would love to meet him. I would really love to have a conversation. I want to understand. He said this one time about he didn't want New Jersey to turn into a Colorado, and I really want to know what that meant because I was in Colorado and I thought it was really beautiful, and there's some spots in Jersey I've been kind of scared about, and I didn't feel that way in Colorado, and I was just so I really want.
All right. See you guys later. I'll
See you,
next week.
Leo. Love you.
I
Bye.
love you, man. We'll be talking.
Good job.
All right, y'all. Ken, that resolution too.
But you know what I mean, Lefty? I just wanted to give him. I just wanted to find out what makes him. I want to know why he thinks it's so bad, or why he's so afraid of looking like Colorado. They're making tons of money, and I just don't understand where.
Money's the wrong argument there with him. Because
Well, no, I know.
yeah.
I mean, he's like, oh, forget the money. But I want to know, like, there must be some personal issues, some childhood scars, something maybe. I just want to help him, and I want to understand him because
Well,
I just.
he believes in the gateway theory. I mean, that's what he said. He said he believes that marijuana is a gateway to harder drugs. Now, unfortunately, that theory has been roundly disproved by science. There's no evidence for
I know.
it. It's
So-
been repudiated multiple times, but it's like an old myth that just refuses to die. And so that's one of the things that he said.
But
anyway,
right, you can say that, you could say that all the fire engines are usually green, but that doesn't make you right. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
It's like I mean I don't know. I
Right.
just want to.
Well, some people who have had the direct experience of seeing a loved one, perhaps, or who have had the direct experience of using marijuana and then using heroin,
Well, maybe that's what it is. Maybe
you
he
know,
became a heroin addict after he's used marijuana, and I'd like to know that if that's the reason.
Well,
that sounds sound, but
So some people who are in recovery certainly do believe that and they have to stay away from all drugs, including marijuana, and marijuana represents a great threat
Except
to them.
Suboxone.
Well,
They overlook that in NA. By the way, they do overlook that.
In my own experience, I smoked cigarettes for like 15 years, and quitting cigarettes was the most difficult thing I ever did. I did it 30 years ago,
Nice.
30 some years ago.
Good job.
But I know that I would never have a single drag of a cigarette, because I know what it is, and it was one drag that actually started addicting me.
right.
So that's.
But I
That's
mean,
not a cigarette.
It's just that would you? I just think that it's like in the wrong classification as using it
Yeah,
as a drug
yeah.
because would you, at the same thing, say that you wouldn't use lavender for its healing benefits, and that's a plant.
Right. Yeah, no, not at all.
I mean, it's really not the same
know.
thing.
I know, but-
And even with tobacco, if you went with all natural tobacco, it's
Yeah.
not quite the addicting substance as like what your Marlboros
Yeah,
are.
that could be true. I'm not sure, but at any rate, it's probably less a logical thing. It's probably it's not a logical thing. It's an emotional thing. It's a faith kind of thing.
Right.
That you have to deal with Governor Christie's objections. So, that the science is out there to disprove that theory. Even the Drug Enforcement Administration, the DEA, doesn't believe that marijuana is a gateway drug anymore.
Well, I mean, but how many people have to disprove it before it becomes like you can't use that theory anymore?
I know. You would think that it's already been done, but
Right. I mean,
I
thought when they
governor,
disproved the theory that you can't use that excuse anymore.
that the world is flat, and
Right.
They say, well, the world isn't flat, but
or that
it's
Santa
round,
is real, or I mean, like it's just it's not true.
But it's a faith belief, and what are you going to do? It's
But it's not really a faith. or a belief. Like there's a faith in God. That's a faith in God you can't disprove, but you can disprove the gateway theory, and it was disproved, and therefore it is wrong to use that as a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, once it's been disproved, it's just
There may be other reasons that he has, but that's the one that he
That
has
he sticks to?
articulated most frequently as his opposition to marijuana.
See, I want to go deeper. I want to find.
Yeah.
That's just a front. We need to find deeper. I want to know. I sadly will probably never find out.
She's probably dumped by some girl in school, and she was a pothead. I'll get you. I'll get all you potheads. Like Harry Anslinger. Remember Harry Anslinger? He hated everyone because they made fun of his name. Harry Anslinger. I would hate everyone too if I had a name like that. I would too.
Are you doing on-air psychoanalysis of Chris Christie's marijuana position?
Yeah,
right now?
I
like this.
I just no. I
like
really
this.
wanted to have. I thought Leo got to meet him, and I got to shake his hand, which was really cool. But I really wanted to like.
Oh, you did shake his hand.
I did.
Oh,
I
good.
did.
I got a
did
picture.
Shake his
Yeah.
hand.
I got it. Yeah, I got
He
it.
kind of has sweaty, big old sausagey hands, though. At least that's what I remember from back in the day.
But they weren't that. They were soft.
You didn't need a napkin afterwards,
Chris, I
right?
gave him a stink palm.
Oh, that's good.
I did.
That's
That
good.
was not nice.
He lost a lot of weight, Chris.
He has lost a lot of weight.
He's looking better.
I think he might be smoking marijuana. You know that. You do have to wonder though. You know, wasn't it
I would
Bob
love to smoke
Melamede,
marijuana with him.
Doctor? Well, I'm telling you, I think that this move to sign the PTSD bill probably had much more to do with electoral politics than any St. Paul fell off his horse moment for Chris Christie. Clearly, I think everybody is and in the press and any political analysis is pretty clear about that. So I would say he
Was
needs
it
to.
like they almost had to force his hand to sign it?
No,
when
no,
it
I don't
first-
think so.
he
No.
did it voluntarily.
No, he
or-
enthusiastically supports Donald Trump.
Okay.
I mean, anything that he can do to help the Trump campaign. I mean, because again, it's his end run right now. I mean, this guy is going to be lucky to be president of the Bruce Springsteen fan club after this, and that's going to be his highest aspiration. I mean, seriously, before he endorsed Donald Trump, this guy was the next U.S. congressman from New Jersey. This guy could have been a U.S. senator. He would have been in a cabinet position in a sane Republican administration run by somebody who isn't a crazy media mogul. But now that he's endorsed Trump, now he's gotten on the Trump-Pence bandwagon and gone around the country and been literally the only mainstream Republican governor who's supported the guy as a sitting governor. My goodness. President of the Bruce Springsteen fan club, that's an aspiration. He'll be hoping for that one day.
I saw
I think
that
the
episode.
Maine governor
of
endorsed him too. Didn't
South Park.
Governor LePage, the one who's the racist governor whose own citizens are trying to impeach him and even his own party doesn't like. That's always good. And is Robert Mugabe also endorsing Donald Trump? Is that something? Is he? I didn't know about that.
I don't know him.
Robert Mugabe, the terrible dictatorial leader of Zimbabwe. But no. I mean, Governor Christie's long anti-marijuana position has also been couched in a really. I mean, what we've experienced in New Jersey is the evolution of prohibition. These prohibitionists like to say we're doing like what happened with this PTSD bill. Hey, I signed the PTSD bill. Everybody cheers. Oh, thank you. Shake his hand. Everybody's getting along, all happy-go-lucky. But in his signing statement, he's saying, hey, look, I'm going to put some special rules out and everything like that. Even when he's passing the bill, he's vetoing it, personally or
What
trying.
rules? What did he put in place?
He's not. I mean,
No,
again,
not yet.
at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it'll
we don't
probably
know yet.
he won't even be the governor by the time PTSD probably gets approved as a medical condition.
So wait, what happens during the approval process? How long does this process take, and why is it taking so long?
The
now?
problem is with, the Department of Health can add conditions, and they could just add conditions. This is
Right.
done by legislative process.
Right.
And I think, again, guys, he could have let the bill become law without his signature. The other reason he signed was to make a public statement saying, I'm going to mess around with this.
Yeah,
I'm making extra rules.
yeah.
I'm setting this hoop on fire before you jump through it. You know what I mean?
That's when I
So-
read what he actually said. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
It made a thing I'm going to approve it, but there's going to be special circumstances that they're going to have to prove. And I'm like, well, what exactly does that mean?
That's been his. Well, that's the whole point. And we don't know what it
Well,
means.
Right. It could work out for the best.
No, stop giving him the benefit of the doubt. out,
Is it
Ken. He
really
doesn't
up in
deserve
the
it
air?
anymore.
So now it is actually important that I do speak to him, right? Because is this up in the air?
It's up in the air
Yes.
until he
really?
directs.
No, we need to speak to him.
Well, you
now.
have-
Well, you probably need to speak to the Department of Health. I mean, if you have
Yeah,
concerns
yeah.
about the proposed
No,
regulations,
Ken.
you
He's
know.
he's directing
He-
the
it
promulgation
was-
of those rules.
It
I
was
think that you
him
talk to
that
him.
was saying that he was going to approve it, but there was
are
going
these
to
things?
be stipulations and
What
rules
is it?
of.
Gummy bears. They may be impregnated.
Oh, oh! You guys didn't bring the gummy condoms today. I see what's up. You're having some real fun out here on a beautiful day in Trenton. See what's up. It's cool. No, I mean, that's the history. I mean, Ken, I think, you are one of the most compassionate human beings I know. You're also an ever optimist in politics. And you and a lot of people here, including Jim, have tried to give Governor Chris Christie the benefit of the doubt since 2010, since he became governor, to try and do the right thing. And I think that, we used to joke around, this guy really sucks. He's sort of like Tony Soprano being the governor. He's really kind of conniving. But look, Ken, between Bridgegate and supporting Donald Trump, the whole country knows this guy for what he is. He talks out his mouth and says, I'm okay with medical marijuana for PTSD, while at the same time knowing that he's already created a strategy not to make it happen. This is how this guy rolls.
Well,
this is his MO.
Well, all right, and you may very well be right on that, Chris. But it depends on how these regs come out, and we could use this regulatory process to push for studies, clinical studies. If for example, the regulations want to clearly delineate the symptoms that patients are suffering from before they start using marijuana, well, that's great. Why don't we really clearly delineate these symptoms, and then we can show the kind of improvement that marijuana will bring, and we will have an actual clinical study here in New Jersey. There has never been a clinical study of marijuana for any reason in the state of New Jersey ever, and we really need to address this issue.
Ken, I'm okay with clinical studies and everything like that, but that's giving this issue over to the very people who have ignored the science of marijuana for quite some time. And that includes the academic medical structure. That includes a heck of a lot of doctors here in New Jersey who oppose this law a lot of the steps of the way. And we're very, let's not forget about the history of that. How about the New Jersey teaching hospitals who talked about how skeptical they were about medical marijuana in 2009, and then in 2011 tried to bid for a dispensary contract? Okay, I'm tired of this. Like, do we need to prove it in science? Did science bring us prohibition? Did they have to prove scientifically that they should prohibit marijuana? No, I don't think so. No. And I think that as activists and as advocates, we get tripped up a little bit by offering to be as transparent and prove the science. I'm sorry, this is politics, not science. And at the end of the day, we have to change this issue. We can get to the science after every veteran and quite frankly, anybody in New Jersey has access to affordable marijuana, whether it's to get high or to get healthy.
But that's
Either way.
That's what we're doing, Chris. I mean, now between 13 and 15 states.
No, but Christie's putting the cart before the horse. He's saying, look, you veterans, you can't have the marijuana until we have the science.
All right, we don't know exactly what he's saying. We don't know what these regulations
That's in his statement. He says he wants to have a methodology that proves that. Look, Chris Christie is appointing himself. You're right. There are no only right now Dr. Seuss Isley is doing the first clinical study on marijuana and PTSD. And somehow Chris Christie is going to be the arbiter of that. He's going to become Dr. Seuss Isley. He's going to do a study of marijuana and PTSD. He's going to guide the Department of Health on what those regulations should be, and then everybody's going to follow it.
All the governor said in his signing statement was, in order to further deter abuse, I am directing the Commissioner of the Department of Health to promulgate additional regulations that provide clear, objective criteria regarding the use of medical marijuana for PTSD.
Clear, objective criteria regarding the use of marijuana and PTSD from the office of the Governor of New Jersey, Ken?
No, from the office of the Commissioner of the Department of Health.
He's directing that they have clear and objective and that the program's being abused. I'm sorry, is the program being abused?
No,
There's only 5,000 patients, so he wants to deter abuse, right?
He wants to deter
There's a lot of abuse in the medical marijuana program right now, I hear, because there's 6,000 patients. I hear that people are clamoring to pay $500 an ounce for their marijuana, Ken. They're clamoring for it. this is the thing. Look, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm such a cynical skeptic on.
Well, that's what we love about you.
Yeah, we need that.
I just don't think. I mean, at this point, when the concept of saying that we need more science and that you need to.
No. We're not saying we need more science. We're saying we're trying to address the problem that the science is not there, and now we have a perfect vehicle for addressing that problem. Because the states have rejected what the Psychiatric Association was saying in New Jersey. They're rejecting the fact that we can't proceed with this until clinical studies are done, and no clinical studies can get done. And the states are moving ahead. They're moving forward. They're saying that's nonsense, and we need to make this medicine available to people, and that's exactly what we're doing, Chris. And now we just had the opportunity to study it as well, to change this availability into a formal clinical study.
Yeah, but in this case, again, Ken, if you want formal clinical studies of the efficacy of cannabis, state-level research isn't really the way to go. Well, and that's why states aren't doing it. I mean, nobody's going to get engaged with doing clinical research at the state. Thomas Jefferson University says that they want to become a repository of clinical information, but they haven't even spoken about actually performing clinical research. So state medical marijuana laws, even though they have research components, and I know legislators and advocates like to talk about them being contributing to the medical science, in essence, I hate to say it, but state medical marijuana laws have not advanced medical cannabis science that much, other than they make medical cannabis available. But the clinical research, hasn't come about because of that. In fact, academia and scientific researchers haven't really utilized existing programs to do any studies.
Excuse me, guys.
It's tough.
On the line, we have Mike. Mike was supposed to call in, Ken. Mike?
Oh, Mike. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mike's on the line now. Can you hear us, Mike?
Yeah, actually, I can hear you, and indeed I agree with what you just said, that other than some small exceptions, very little research has been done based on the thousands of patients in the various states that are using cannabis every day under state law.
This is Mike Crowitz. Mike, identify yourself. You're from the Veterans for Medical Access?
Oh, okay.
Yes, I kind of jumped right in the conversation there, but yeah, it's Mike Crowitz with Veterans for Medical Cannabis Access. We work on national veterans medicinal access issues, and we've been immersed in the medical marijuana issue for about 10 years.
Yeah, Mike's a U.S. Air Force veteran, as a matter of fact, and I know he's working on plans when full legalization happens to airdrop medical marijuana around the country. Isn't that right,
Whoa,
Mike?
whoa. What?
Well, actually, we've got a very efficient distribution system set up in the VA hospital, so I don't think we'll need to airdrop
I like
it.
that. I like that. I like that. What we've seen here, Mike, is PTSD getting added to the list of conditions. But, in New Jersey, we only have about 400, 500 doctors who are registered to recommend medical cannabis therapy. What do you think about doctors at the VA? Do you think that now that PTSD, we have PTSD in Pennsylvania, you think more doctors are going to get comfortable, especially VA doctors, maybe get comfortable with it?
Well, the VA, when they passed their medical marijuana policy that we requested back in 2010, they clarified something that we really didn't understand, and that was that the DEA had threatened VA doctors back in 2008, and that threat has never been actually repeated. So the VA policy at this time is that VA doctors are not allowed to recommend cannabis, or specifically, they're not allowed to fill out forms to help a veteran participate in a state medical marijuana program.
But your work made the VA change its opinion and say that there will be no penalties for patients who take part in state programs with the VA. Isn't that correct, Mike?
Well, actually, to be clear, we got the Congress to agree in both the House and Senate to pass an amendment that would create new VA policy that would allow the VA doctors to fill out these forms. But unfortunately, in a reconciliation committee, that particular portion of that spending bill was stripped. So this is really an unusual event. It's the first time that I know of where we've gotten anything passed in the House and Senate committees, only to have a smaller reconciliation committee just take it out of the language of the final act that was signed by the president. So it's very confusing.
Yeah.
But at this point, there's nothing that's forced the VA to change their policy, and they haven't changed it themselves. They have told us that they intend to change the policy, and the policy itself was actually expired in 2016 January. We were told, and it is evidently the way of the VA, to continue practice of a particular policy until it's actually repealed or rescinded. So the policy having expired doesn't mean it goes away. That VA medical marijuana policy is still in effect until they come out with a new policy. And we're hoping that even without the guidance from the House and Senate, that the VA is going to come out with that new policy soon, making it clear that doctors at the VA have necessary free speech to have that doctor-patient relationship.
I mean, and also, too, the good thing is for patients who, for veterans, the VA did make a policy a few years back. What would happen is veterans would be in pain management programs, and then they would test positive for THC as they regularly drug tested them to make sure they're taking their OxyContin. And then they would kick them out of pain management if they tested positive for pot. So if veterans are registered medical marijuana patients in a state with a registry, they can't be kicked out of the VA pain management programs anymore. But I think that's about as far as it goes anymore.
Yes, and even that policy is a bit confusing because in reality, a patient, any patient, anywhere, inside or outside the VA, should never have any treatment, including pain management treatment, taken away as a punishment. That is, if a patient is being told, you violated the policy, you're having your medicine taken away, that should never happen in the United States at all, ever. The policy that we got at the VA indeed clarified that reality, but it is an ethical standard, and it is a hard line that doctors are not supposed to cross. Even if you were in prison for drug dealing, you would still not have your pain treatment taken away. That would be unethical. The clarification that we got in the VA has helped some veterans, and it certainly has helped create a better model for the rest of the country to follow. But it is a model that needs to be followed, and unfortunately a lot of doctors out there have forgotten their Hippocratic oath, have forgotten their duty to their patient, and really have replaced that with sort of a quasi-police role to try to prevent society from becoming addicted to drugs or to prevent drugs from leaking out of the patient's medicine chest into society. That is not the role of the doctor. The doctor is supposed to come up with a treatment plan for the individual patient, and that's what we would hope that they would do. But unfortunately, even today, even with the VA policy, we still have some trouble, with individual doctors that forget who they're really working for.
Hey, Mike, it's Jim. I finally made my way back to the table. I've been enjoying what you're saying from across the street. Where patients Medicaid, I thought I'd go over and support them for a little bit before coming back. What's your take on what's going on here in New Jersey, having post-traumatic stress added to the list of appropriate indications for getting in the program? How many other states already have this before us, did you say, 15?
Yeah, this is the 15th state, and then we have Washington, D.C., and we have Guam, and it's actually over half of the United States now that has medical marijuana, and over half of the medical marijuana states have post-traumatic stress as a qualifying condition. We're really proud of that, and we're hoping that the success with cannabis for post-traumatic stress, as with the other medical conditions where patients are benefiting, will actually teach the VA and help guide that formal research that will eventually put medicines on the shelf in the pharmacy.
How teachable do you think the VA is going to be in that regard? I mean, you would have a better opinion than me.
The VA is one of these things that's so big that you can have 100 different perspectives and they can all be valid. I think the VA is very clearly watching what's going on. If you look at the most recent data that came from the Journal of the American Medical Association that showed a very clear connection with a drop in overdose rate connected to well-implemented medical cannabis access program, that was VA researchers that published that document.
Yeah, they
So it's not like they're not paying attention. I think they're getting it. It's just going to take a while before we can kind of convert this information that, as has been mentioned before, is really at the societal level, at the community level, and we need to convert it to these hospital management system level.
You know, I was underwhelmed by the seismic activity by the American Medical Association's report, which is what the VA is picking up on, because when they said the average state with medical marijuana programs, especially that allowed pain as an indication, because that's the root of most people's problems for opiate problems, that 24.8% reduction in the overdose death rates due to opioids in those states. And that is such a large chunk, 25%. I mean, it's astounding, and I thought there'd be more of a rush to try to see about the cause and effect of these statistics, because the AMA did say, I read through the whole thing, and it actually is pretty long, that they couldn't attribute cause and effect. In other words, saying that this does not mean that you will have a 25% reduction, although it seems to indicate it somehow. And it just hasn't really been that much of a Kickstarter for things going on.
Well, I think, Jim, we're looking at a very slow distribution of information that's opposing a very large system of disinformation. And the average citizen out there includes doctors, includes lawyers, includes citizen patients and activists and veterans, and everyone out there is applying their own common sense to all this. And unfortunately, the drug war doesn't really follow any common sense. If you look at the research and the work that we've done internally at Veterans for Medical Cannabis Access, the very first thing we learned about medical cannabis was that patients used less pain pills, less of all kinds of prescription medications. Cannabis seems to augment a lot of treatment and lower the amount of the prescription medications that the patients need. The cannabis movement has been very proud of this and has been adamant about the fact that we use less prescription drugs and we are not as dependent upon the pharmaceutical industry. And that certainly translated into a lower overdose rate. When I spoke to the head of NIDA, Dr. Volkow, and I presented that bit of research from the Journal of the American Medical Association, what she told me was, it's really not a reduction of 25% in overdose rate, it's a reduction in the rate of increase of overdose rate. And I got to tell you, Jim, I don't care if it's a reduction in the rate of increased overdose rate. I don't care if it's an increase in overdose-related thoughts out there in society. It is definitely better than what she's coming up with.
Yeah, that was a pretty lame thing to say, but that just shows there isn't really good rebuttal available, or they would have not made such a mess out of that. You know, it's an important point you make, that there's still a misconception amongst many people, and sometimes surprisingly otherwise well-informed people, that it's not a substitute medication. It's an additional, an adjunct, as you know, I like to call it because it sounds professional, that it works so well in conjunction that one of its best qualities is the synergistic effect with opioids, that you don't need to combine the same amount that you would have if you used either one individually. You would, for whatever success you'd want with your pain, you don't need half of that amount of each. You might need 20% of the amount of each for the same pain relief, using them in combination. So, I think we're going to try to make more of a point about that too. And Ken, is it true that was there a condition proposed to the advisory panel about this being an exit drug of sorts, or so they did get a petition for that. Turn the red one up. Yeah. Ken's also a producer. Add that to your resume.
Yes, who did that? Vanessa Waltz did it.
Right.
The opiate use disorder. She did a wonderful petition. It really was a work of art, so well researched and so well documented and so well articulated that I find it hard to believe that the panel could actually turn it down. Opiate use disorder qualifying for marijuana therapy. She did a great job, and I certainly hope the panel looks favorably upon it.
Yeah. And while we're talking, Mike, people would then, I guess, know you. Are we talking? Are you there, Mike? Are you there? Did we lose you?
Mike?
Mike? Mike got a mic?
Are you okay? I think we lost Mike.
We lost Mike. We can't find Mike.
So, I just wanted to...
I got a ringing in my head.
Yeah. Well, my tinnitus or tinnitus is the worst I've ever experienced.
Yeah. That rang right straight through the core.
So I was just...
It's loud in headphones is what we're saying.
Mike reached out to me last night. He talked to me and he said, boy, talk about an articulate activist.
He is.
Mike Crowitz is just a wonderful guy on a national scale. He just has at his fingertips so many, the destruction of so many arguments.
Yep.
PTSD, yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your support.
He is that kind of smart. And, I met Mike March 30th, 1998 at about 9:45. And the reason I know that is he was the patient representative when Cheryl was about to be arrested for me giving her marijuana in a congressman's office. So Mike, I met him then, and he had his arm crutches and moved around like crazy on them. And I was just impressed that he would make the 4-hour drive from where he lives in Virginia to come in so that Cheryl wasn't the only medical marijuana.
Is he on?
Mike, are you back?
Yes, I'm back.
Oh,
sorry,
you're back.
Got disconnected somehow.
Okay, well, I was just comping to the fact that we've known each other since March 30th of 1998, and most people can't peg an exact day when they met somebody, but of course, being at Cheryl's arrest in Washington, was memorable. And Ken and I were agreeing that you're about as articulate as anyone we know on this subject, and that we should coalesce more often, especially when we can use you to your greatest advantage here, because you have New Jersey roots as well. Why don't you mention that? Because I bet Ken didn't know you got any New Jersey roots.
Yes, I actually grew up in New Jersey, Fair Lawn, New Jersey. Spent most of my early life actually there. I graduated high school in upstate New York, but I only spent the last year or so up there. So I definitely call New Jersey my home, and my roots go back into New Jersey. So I'm very proud that at least, on this turf, New Jersey is leading. Even leading Colorado, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, that you're referencing, I guess, that if you have post-traumatic stress and you want to be a medical marijuana patient in Colorado, you cannot be one with post-traumatic stress.
Yeah, it doesn't
but New
qualify in
Jersey, you
Colorado.
can. Now, if there's any bigger situation where one state could communally say to another, "Oh," it would be us going, "Oh," to whatever we have to say about them, because Governor Christie defiled our regulations by saying, well, we don't want to be like the Wild West of Colorado and California. And apparently we're a little more wild than they are in one area. But
Yeah, how about that?
Well, we had Roger Barbour, though, so and they didn't, so that's an unfair advantage. May he rest in peace.
Well, Colorado, I've noticed with veterans out in the field that even the medical cannabis access program is prohibitive for some vet. When you have legal access where you can go in and just show an ID in a very rather anonymous way, go and access cannabis, I have to say, as an advocate and an observant advocate, that we have a lot of patients that access it that way who will basically not access it any other way. They've been so disenfranchised by the medical community, by the powers that be, that they don't even want to participate in a state card holder system. It's kind of unfortunate that we're in that position, but it's going to take a while before we reach the patients that really need to be reached.
Yeah. Did anybody tell you we had a Governor Christie encounter today?
No, tell us about it.
Yeah, well, what happened was I was inside speaking with a state trooper, and he got a quick call on his radio and started hustling outside, and I mockingly said to him as I followed him, "Oh, governor sighting?" And, of course, he didn't say anything because it was obvious, we know how it works. And so I got out to make sure everybody else did know the governor's about to pull up. And when he did, there was a demonstration across the street that was not in favor of him at all. And obviously we're not in favor of him at all either. But, man, I made a thank you, Governor Christie sign. My hand didn't want to do it. It was like, who's telling me to do this? Jim, save us, So Ken went and, Ken wears his jacket and tie and looks like the kind of guy you want to shake his hand as opposed to somebody like me, but he already knows me. And shook his hand, thanked him, looking very serious and appropriate. And
I thanked him for signing the bill, the PTSD bill into law. I explained who I was, Ken Walsky, Executive Director of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana in New Jersey, and I shook his hand, and he just said, well, it was the right thing for him to do, to sign that bill into law.
And then he talked to Leo for a while, and then I had a sign, Mike, that I made that said, "Thank you, Governor, post-traumatic stress for medical marijuana."
Mm-hmm.
And then I couldn't help it. I put finally, it was like, you know me, man. I had to finally. But I got directly in his path, which of course you don't do. So just before security would say, like, you can't do that.
Get out of the way.
He looked up, and here I am, the guy that normally has traffic cones out, and we didn't put him out. And the guy just said, well, I'm smiling at him, and I said, "That's right, I made this just for you." And he came walking on over and gave me a very warm handshake, and we were at an uncomfortably close proximity. I just mean because if it was somebody else, it's not uncomfortable when you look and you're seeing the governor and you feel your hand shaking his, which I do at length, by the way, because, then you have him for as long as you got his hand. But I got to look him right in the eyes and say, you do know that your signature is going to save lives. You know that, don't you? It's the right thing to do.
It was good.
And he looked very serious and, simply said, well, we got to hope, right? Almost like he didn't want to say, "That's right, I'm saving lives, Captain Christie." He didn't want. But you see, it was. I call it actually a version of one of those my honorable colleague moments. Legislators that hate each other are speaking on the floor in Washington, and my honorable colleague, as he's, they're not thinking that's not how they feel about it. But it was the right way to be today.
There are certain formalities and you have to respect the office of the governor. Even if you disagree with him on policy decisions.
Well, we do. We're not. Ever since when Lefty, when he called him a pussy that first time, it was just because he was already going through the door. And it was just funny seeing Lefty have a little FaceTime with the governor himself.
Right. Lefty shook his hand.
That was a sight I thought I'd never
And Leo, one of the veterans who testified at the committee hearings, he asked the governor for the pen that he used to sign the bill.
Yeah.
And so the governor said he could have it, and Leo went into the State House and retrieved the pen that Governor Christie used to sign the bill. So that was a nice little victory today.
Is he going to give it to us?
No, he's going to keep it.
It would look good on your wall, man. We got Coalition Grand Central in your house.
He needs to put that in a nice little lucite box and put it on his wall at the very minimum.
Yeah, he should be on loan from Leo for a month or something.
But Mike,
I want to say something about Governor Christie. He has become obviously the topic of conversation with regard to cannabis policy nationwide. And I heard earlier this summer, actually just before the summer, in New York City, the professor from New York, what's his name out there, that was the names are not coming to my mind here, but the
Make
professor
one up.
behind-
We'll not.
Kleinman was his name, and Professor Kleinman put on a medical cannabis university, essentially, in New York. And those who know Professor Kleinman inside the drug policy reform movement know him as being a serious pain in the backside of the cannabis movement, essentially. And he actually was the person picked to implement the state legalization of marijuana in Washington State.
Oh, that's terrible.
And which is ironic at the very least, because he was the one, again, who was our thorn in our side, saying that we couldn't legalize marijuana as long as it was still illegal under federal law. I thought that that would disqualify him as a person, running a state marijuana program under, while federal law still was unchanged. But anyway, I digress. At his meeting, we had input from people like Rob Campia and others, head of Marijuana Policy Project, and leaders of the National Cannabis Industry Association, etc. And they were in unison that one of the worst outcomes that we could have in this election, regardless of Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and Donald Trump and everything, would be a scenario in which Chris Christie would have a chance of becoming our Attorney General, which evidently would be a chance under a Trump administration. I really wonder, after just this one situation, after this one event of signing this post-traumatic stress qualification in the law, if that would mitigate their opinion at all. I really do. What do you all think about that?
First of all, I know Professor Kleinman. He's apparently a brilliant researcher, because he's the only one who's ever been able to find an association between marijuana use and violence. No one else.
Brilliant or conniving,
no one else who has ever looked into that situation has ever made a connection between marijuana use and violence. But
no, actually,
except for
the
President
MS
Kleinman.
Society did that years ago when they polled death row inmates in New York on whether they thought marijuana played a part in their conviction, and of course, as a mitigating circumstance, they all raised their hands and said, "Yeah." To which I had to reply, "Well, are you worried about Cheryl's going to hide a razor blade where she can get it in her mouth and slice my throat? What's your point?" But if Professor Kleinman could make that distinction, I mean, actually, who accepted that? Was it in a peer-reviewed journal?
Yeah. Well, it was an association. It wasn't a cause and effect.
Well, we don't consider that proof. I'm sorry. Next.
So, at any rate, the question is, how much does this improve Governor Christie's image now that he signed the PTSD bill? And when Christie signed the PTSD bill, first I have to say that he did say that there were going to be additional regulations that were going to be put in place by the Commissioner of the Department of Health to perhaps further restrict this program. We'll have to see exactly what those regulations are. But he certainly has never been a fan of it, of any type of marijuana reform. Oh, Jesus. So it's we're grateful that he signed the bill. I'm not really sure all of the reasons for doing it, except that as he said, it was the right thing to do. And I think that his political capital is going to raise somewhat by signing this bill and by endorsing this part of marijuana reform.
Well, I have a pop quiz then. Let's see. To mitigate. Who said this about what we're talking about? Actually, the promulgation of new rules and all. Nevertheless, the mere potential for abuse by some should not deter the state from taking action that may ease the daily struggles of our veterans and others who legitimately suffer from PTSD. Who said that? Who said the mere potential for abuse by some should not deter the state from taking action that may ease the daily struggles of our veterans and others? Chris Christie said that.
Christie in his signing statement.
So he said that himself, and then he's turning around and using that as a reason to implement tougher regulations. What do you think, Mike?
Well, I think that's really interesting, because I know who he's responding to, or at least I think I know who he's responding to.
Who would that be?
In our, as you pointed out, Jim, I've been doing this for a while.
Yes,
and,
you have.
When Chuck Thomas from Marijuana Policy Project called me up and said, "You want to come up and be the second patient for Cheryl?" I was really happy to do that, and I think that was one of the more important things in my entire life was being there for you and Cheryl. I just want to comment on that.
Thank you.
But with regard to what this comment is responding to, we, as we've been working in the various states that had post-traumatic stress as a qualifying condition, all of a sudden, I mean, literally, we've been working on this since 1996 at least, and all of a sudden, we're face-to-face with the American Psychiatric Association. And we have psychiatrists from, representing, literally officially representing the American Psychiatric Association in our face, lobbying against us behind closed doors, out in committee hearings, at these various commissions where we've heard evidence. You haven't even started this process in New Jersey yet, but you will, and you'll see that there'll be a commission. There'll be some scholarly individuals, maybe even a cop or an activist thrown on there for balance, and that commission will make a lot of testimony, and trudge through that and try to come up with the evidence that they will then submit with their decision-making process based on that evidence to the commissioner. And the commissioner, when they've acted on the evidence, they've acted in our favor. When they've cowed to the pressure behind closed doors, they've acted against us. And that pressure from behind closed doors has always been the American Psychiatric Association. And they refuse to look at any of the science of Israel and the science of Canada, where cannabis is actually being given to veterans right now through their national programs. The science from cannabinoids, from the cannabinoid research that tells us so much about how cannabis helps to get rid of these horrific memories, to help with sleep, to help with reduced stress, etc. They refuse to look at any of the information about Marinol or Sesamet or any of the other synthetic copies of THC or any of the cannabinoid basic research. I have a lot of trouble with that one. How you can talk about the active ingredient in cannabis as having positive value, passed a double-blind placebo-based study in Canada showing that Sesamet, a copy of THC, was effective in nightmare cessation and post-traumatic stress. Now, as an advocate, I say to myself, well, that's the copy of THC, and THC is certainly in cannabis. Maybe I can extrapolate from that cannabis should be an effective treatment for post-traumatic stress. No, they won't allow me to do that. And the psychiatric community is very quick to point out anything about cannabis being a drug of abuse. That's their day-to-day job. You remember, this is the part of the medical industry that deals with drug abuse. They're the ones that dispense drugs routinely to patients that suffer from drug abuse to help them kick the habit. They're the gatekeepers of this treatment modality. And I think as that relationship is so close with the federal government that they just basically follow the federal government's playbook directly. And evidently, they're the only doctor group as a group that does that. And it makes them an anomaly. And I think it makes them act quite unethically. I call them out on this. This is not good behavior for doctors to follow the police's lead.
It's a good point that we do need to call them out, which is where we spend a lot of our time calling somebody out. As I was listening to you, I kept thinking it's the behind closed doors part where we lose. And now that we see something coming, perhaps, I think that we may incorporate that view more into our everyday dissemination of how we think things are working out. They're going to do things where they make decisions based on information they got from we don't know who.
I think the part of the law that you're now looking at, which requires special kind of consideration that the patient has already tried other conventional therapies and that those have failed before being eligible for cannabis for treatment for post-traumatic stress in New Jersey. I think that may be where you go next. If at all possible, the Drug Policy Alliance has a great petition in to add post-traumatic stress to the qualifying condition. I'm going to ask them, and I would encourage you to ask them to continue that effort and maybe see if we can adjust the effort so we go after that special consultation and make cannabis for post-traumatic stress just like any other routine doctor recommendation.
It should be. Talking them into doing something has its own pitfalls at times, but it's certainly worth approaching them about that. It's not really a job that's over. It might not be as pertinent even in New Jersey as other states that could also use more documentation and in a way that apparently they did a pretty good job on.
Cannabis should be a frontline therapy rather than
and it
a
should be
last
treated as other therapies, drugs and prescriptions, but we certainly don't hear for a governor that spends a lot of time saying, well, the reason we got so few people is we have a truly medical program. What he actually said he wanted to prevent at the time was that we're not going to be a state where people fly into Newark, fake a headache, get medical marijuana, and fly home. He actually said that. And, this is when, of course, patients couldn't even get it who lived here, didn't have to fly in or anything, and couldn't get it for a headache. But, if it's truly...
It's an extremely unfortunate situation, Jim, because in my experience working with patients in the field, the most needy patients, the most sick patients, the patients that anyone knowing anything about their medical situation would call them eligible and certainly a legitimate patient, those are the first patients to give up. And they just don't have the energy to jump through hoops. In Maryland, right next door, we've got a law that requires patients to have a board-certified psychiatrist, not just a regular psychiatrist. I'm hoping that some patients will be able to avail themselves of this qualification, but I'm waiting to look at the statistics and bracing myself. We'll be able to contrast programs like Oregon and Maryland and New Jersey and look at the results. And so far, the results that we've gotten, published results from the state of New Mexico, have been stellar.
Yeah, Brian Crum's study there in the Sage Clinic in New Mexico. He's a nurse practitioner that runs that clinic. He deals with hundreds of PTSD patients and recommends marijuana therapy for him in New Mexico. And he did a beautifully detailed report on how the marijuana therapy has helped those patients. Listed each one of the conditions that they have and how marijuana has reduced the severity and the frequency of these noxious symptoms, like nightmares and aggressive behavior, and alcohol and opioid abuse. There really is some beautiful science out there already to argue that marijuana should be a frontline therapy rather than a last-ditch approach.
Yeah, just to jump in here just a minute there, Ken, I wanted to bring up something about this PTSD bill. Now, are they going to have the requirements that you have to, for PTSD, that it has to be a psychiatrist to sign off on that?
No, but you're going to have to prove that you have had treatment and the treatment for PTSD and the treatment has failed. So typically this kind of treatment is from psychiatrists, so you will either have to get
you're sure that they're not changing it? Because in Delaware what they did was that they made for PTSD, you had to have a psychiatrist sign off.
Well, that's a good point.
And then, of course,
the regulations have not been written. Apparently, there are going to be regulations. This bill, the PTSD is not simply going to be added as another qualifying condition. To join the other three in New Jersey: seizure disorder, glaucoma, and intractable skeletal muscle spasticity that require treatment failure in order to qualify. They could have just said and PTSD and been done with it. No. But no, it looks like they're going to require other regulations. So we don't know. We don't know whether one of those regulations is going to be
what I'm just trying to
clearance.
say is, and make sure that this is clear, especially
Governor's
before
back.
this all comes.
Leave them alone.
Ask about the regulations.
No, this is still the.
No, this is really important though because they can prevent it. By making it with a psychiatrist, making a psychiatrist sign.
Welcome back, Governor.
Hey, Governor.
We're still smiling. You ought to listen to a replay of this podcast. You're coming off looking pretty good with us here.
Mr. Christie, I would really love to have lunch with you. Are you available for lunch? I'm hungry. Are you available?
There you go.
Damn.
We don't have
All
to
right,
call.
I got the courage to ask though. I feel good about myself.
We didn't have to call.
Good try.
Yeah. Mike, are you there?
I'm still here enjoying this very
Yeah,
much.
the governor just walked by. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
He just went by, so we just blew you off as quick
I
as
don't
we
think
could.
Sorry, you're not as important as the governor, apparently.
You know, the governor's still in earshot.
Yeah,
I think we should mention that veterans are going to have a hard time having their primary caregiver recommend cannabis when the VA doctors are not allowed by policy to recommend cannabis.
He's got an 8-word limit for really assimilating before turning away. You got to shorten that up, man.
Well, not only that,
he gets by otherwise. No, it was it's amazing that he came in again.
Yeah,
And you know, normally he
never
likes
been two in a
he
day.
likes to blow right by us, but this on the thank you, Governor, we're friends for the day. I'm more or less suggesting take advantage of it here. You
Yeah.
know,
Enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, look at a replay. You're looking pretty good today.
Yeah.
And he seemed genuinely happy, but
He seemed agreeable to your suggestion, too.
Yeah. Oh, I hope not. I was only kidding. I don't want to look at the whole thing.
I'm just
Shit.
saying that before that this goes into play, before these stipulations get actually put down on paper, this is a time that you really need to get in there and find out if they're going to try and put forth that a psychiatrist has to be the one to approve PTSD diagnosis for cannabis, because if they do that, then they're essentially you're not going to get PTSD.
Yeah.
The same
How will
problem
they?
that we'll have in Delaware, because if you get the opposition to this has been from the psychiatrists.
Psychiatrist, right.
So
Right.
if they
How
put
will
a
they do that?
requirement, if they put a requirement that you have to have a psychiatrist sign, which is what they did in the Delaware law.
Well, you know, he can attempt to do that through the regulatory process. You know, the Department of Health is they have to develop regulations to enact this law. They don't have to.
I think he's going to make
No.
it easy, actually.
But you know, they could add a psychiatric clearance. So we're
Can you interject into that process at all? I mean, do you
well,
have access to
oh
that
yes,
process?
yes, we absolutely do. You know, there's a public comment period where
Good.
the proposed regulations go through a formal period of public comments, and then the department that issued the regulations has to respond to each of those public comments. They don't have to pay attention to the comments. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You know, they can blow them off. They can just say we're blowing them off for this reason, and we're blowing them off for
I'm
that
sure they
reason.
wouldn't phrase it
You
like
know,
that, though.
right?
After much study, we've decided.
Yeah.
I mean, I would make sure that there's a big public knowledge or presence about that information, because if it passes through
Yeah.
with
Well,
requiring a
the-
psychiatrist doctor, then you do not have
Okay, now,
PTSD, because
I
we do not
agree
have PTSD in
I
Delaware.
agree with
Yeah.
what you're saying, but the part that's going to really have to become tangibly obvious is it's our supporters in the legislature
Yeah,
that have
yeah,
to
that-
know
right,
this. So
right.
while we
And they
need
will,
to
they
show,
will, Jim.
they
Yeah.
will. I think they're going to be very receptive, but I also think
that-
we can help keep it that direction. I think we're going to take much more initiative, and then we can present what our initiative has resulted in to them. And I think you're right, Ken. I think that we are at a point where we may not actually have a seat at the table, but we do.
We know people who
we
do.
we know people who do, and they listen to us now. So you know that's good enough. You know, we're the puppet masters now.
I wouldn't go that far, but you know,
Aspiring puppet master.
you know what Governor Christie has done before. The legislature has complained about the regulatory process just exceeding the legislative intent, and so that's one of the things that regulations are not supposed to provide new qualifications, or they're not supposed to
they
change
call
the
it
law.
within
They're
the,
supposed to enact the law. They're supposed to
in the spirit that the law was
right,
written.
the spirit and the letter of the law,
Yeah.
and not adding things to it.
And
other
we
restrictions.
almost did invalidate the regulations early on. It came within one vote
Yeah,
of taking them back
yeah,
because of
yeah.
that.
Both the Senate and the Assembly
Yeah, and
passed
then
resolutions.
they kind of lost their spine or something, and it
Well,
didn't
you know,
work out.
It's a lot
It
of
might
work.
be it might be a good moment to mention as kind of a cautionary tale to the state the experience of Illinois, as a cautionary tale to what might happen if they go off the rails and try to do too much in this regulatory process that you're talking about in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
In Illinois, the judge ruled very harshly that the commissioner had acted outside the law and did not follow the law and interjected meetings and information that he collected outside of the evidentiary process. And it was, I think, a very strong vindication of due process that you're talking about. Different circumstances, but I think it's the same third rail that they're going to step on if they don't follow the rules and they try to come up with ad hoc prohibition.
Yeah, we didn't think to take it to the administrative law court last time. I imagine that was an administrative law judge that made that ruling, or it could have been an appeals court judge.
I think it was administrative in Illinois,
Yeah.
We're going to be, this is our wrap-up time. We give credit where credit is due and then have the saddest of all things at the end of each show, remembrance of those who passed before it was their time, who helped and were patients. But you can stay on the line, I guess, and listen to how it goes, or
if I could
not.
just say one last thing to Mike, that I was just so impressed what you said about if the Department of Health considers certain categories too broad, Mike, like chronic pain, you say, oh, we can't consider that because it's too broad a category. Then you say, well, then you have to delineate every one of those conditions that cause chronic pain and not throw the baby out with the bathwater. And this is great, Mike.
Wow, I like that.
Yeah. Just
and I'm seeing a light bulb go off, really, right over Ken's head. A light bulb.
Well, I appreciate that. Turning on the light.
All right, so
I'd be very honored to stick around.
All
right, cool. We have a commercial for Magical Butter, our major sponsor. Magical Butter makes your recipes better. Magical Butter makes your recipes better.
So much better.
Magical Butter makes your recipes better.
So good.
Be dialing 1-800-420-4334. 1-800-420-4334. Get your Magical Butter machine from magicalbutter.com. Eat to treat. Mixed brownies, cookies, smoothies, sauces, soups, veggies, candies, salad dressings for your tossed salad. You like tossed salad, Jim?
I like tossed salad everywhere except in Australia.
What does that mean?
I can't tell you.
Well, they make great dressing for your tossed salad.
I'd have a friend in Australia who I'll send this clip to, and he will laugh. And this music, it's not just in my head, right? It's going to go on for 2 days in my head.
Yeah, Mike, you're going to have this song in your head for like weeks now, just so you know.
So what else can you do with this magical bowl? Oh, it's all stainless steel. You can't stain it. The inside bowl.
I could stain anything.
Yeah.
Butter, tincture, peanut, oil, corn, olive,
Smoothies.
coconut, sunflower, grapeseed, avocado,
Candy.
much, much more.
Lotions and salves, beverages.
Wait, here's the break. We can never get this right. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, go. Damn it. I never get it right. It's like a 5 count or a 6 count. I'll get it one day.
Yeah.
Anyway, get your Magical Butter machine from Garen Angel and magicalbutter.com. 1-800-420-4334.
Same number as before. Good.
I said 1-800-420-4334.
Oh, that was good. You got that. You nailed it. I still couldn't remember it, though. You're talking to people who smoke pot. They're going to need a pen and paper. See, right at the beginning, I'm going to give you a number, pen and paper.
Thank you, Jekka, for coming up from Delaware.
Thank you for having me.
Jekka's Folly. Do you have a website?
I have a Facebook page.
Easy.
That's even better.
Oh.
Jekka's Folly.
Cool.
And
We're there.
Instagram.
I came down to see you this week, and I had such a good time. I tell you, I've been depressed lately, and I went down there to have a good time, and that's exactly what I did. I had a great time, got my mind off all my crap I've been on, and I actually meditated down there. Your sister helped me meditate. It was guided meditation, which is really amazing to me, because I've meditated on mushrooms before, and it was nothing like that. It was it was totally different. I'm sorry.
No.
What'd you say?
You didn't pick me up.
We're going to go down there.
Okay.
Rowan's going to go down there. Jesse's going to go down there. We're all going to go down there because it is the coolest place ever.
Does she know?
Yes, I invited everybody.
Okay.
But you digress.
Yeah, because I've been actually very down lately over the whole Roger, watching Joanne's family, watching the Barbour's family. It's been depressing.
We're at the end of the show, then, aren't we? That's
No,
the
I'm
depressing
gonna do the medical-freedom.com.
Yeah, you got to do all that, but
William
we're gonna get sad after that, real quick.
Dude, it's
though.
coming. It's
So
coming.
go ahead and get this out of the way, because you want to do happy. You don't want to medical-freedom.
Medical.
Do the happy.
dash.
Go back to the.
Yeah.
Go back to
CMMMJ,
meditation. You were doing meditation.
I was, and it was amazing. Your sister really wow, she opened me up. Like,
And the legalized bong right in the background.
I had such a good
right?
time down there. I'm coming back. You can't leave. You can't go to Tennessee, by the way, Jackie. Please, you cannot leave. You're not going to Tennessee. Get that idea out of your head. Okay, you've met me now, and you're part of the podcast. You're not going nowhere. Sorry,
Lefty, I'm not going to let you get happy
Somebody-
here now. Come on, man. Be sad with me.
Somebody is going
Don't let her sway you into being happy right now.
Come on. How can you not be? Look.
Well, that's the whole point, not now. No, go ahead.
I went crazy and quit my job, though, so I can't afford to live in Delaware anymore.
Really?
Really?
I did, yeah. So, I got to sell my place. Nobody, unless Snoop Dogg is watching and he decides to buy my place and says, hey, have your cannabis club here.
Why don't you just grow weed and sell weed? Something like
You can't grow weed in Delaware as a
Yes, you
patient
can.
either.
Don't tell nobody.
No, I know, right?
Nobody will
no,
find
nobody tells me what to do.
That's right.
Actually, but
So, I'm telling you to grow weed.
and
I'm
actually,
telling you right now to grow weed and don't
I
go to
want-
Tennessee. I'm telling you.
No,
How you like
actually,
that?
I really want everybody to grow weed. I really do.
Me
I
too.
want everybody
too.
I'm
to
giving you
just
30 more seconds.
stand up and say, stop the nonsense. Just break the law. Just smoke weed. Take one for the team. Do it.
I'll tell that to Weed Man Ed Fortune. Oh boy, that just summed him up, doesn't it?
You tell him yourself.
Yeah. No, I mean that was and I've done that in the past myself. Just
Yeah.
break the law. But now we're going to find some sort of circular statement leading us back to
cannabis.
That we're at the end of the program. and we're gonna
Medical-freedom.com,
thank our sponsors.
cmmnj.org, sativacross.com, newjerseyweedman.com. Check us follow on Facebook. Blue Planet Biotech, Cannasense.
This is all from memory, by the way. He's looking up in the air.
I know.
Searching for answers.
I don't know why I do this to myself every
there's
week.
somebody going, son of a bitch, write it down, Lefty.
Yeah, write it down, Lefty. Every week they tell me that.
Facebook/USA.VMCA. Veterans for Medical Cannabis Access.
There you go.
Veterans for Medical Cannabis Access. You hear that?
This is who we've been talking to here today.
That's right.
Michael. What would you call yourself, Michael? The director or the founder? What's your?
I'm the executive director.
Executive director. Okay. And by the way, I love the title because we have a medical marijuana law. We have the Coalition for Medical Marijuana. You have Veterans for Cannabis.
Yeah, I like that. I like cannabis better.
So thank you for.
Actually, our organization is called Veterans for Medical Marijuana Access, and we interchange cannabis and marijuana as we.
Wow. So basically,
yeah.
Basically, you're talking to the Coalition for Medical Marijuana, who hasn't done that, and I'm complimenting Veterans for You know
I'll
what?
tell you right now.
I've got something to put forward here.
I don't like that word.
I don't either. You know what? I'm going to put forward to. Say it real quiet because Ken's still here.
See, I told
But I'm
Jekka-
going to make it an issue.
I told Jekka we don't use that word on the podcast,
Okay.
and she went off on me.
No.
Jekka went off. She's like, you don't tell me I can't. No, that's my word.
Yeah,
you
then-
don't take that away from me,
Yeah,
right?
and then-
right?
and-
Something like that.
Did you turn the volume down when she did that? Because that would have been ironic.
It was great.
You don't take that away. Where'd you go?
It's actually on. I posted it on Facebook.
Yeah.
All right,
I
but-
couldn't edit it, so I just posted the whole thing.
All right, come on. We got to get to this, Ed. We're it's not just we're past it, but we and Michael will be able to hear this as well, of course. That at the end of the show, when did you start doing this? Lefty had something he
2
would
years ago.
say. It was called the Ode to Remembrance. Turns out it was written in honor and memory of World War I veterans. And several countries had their slightly different versions. And here, at the War Memorial Auditorium, it's inscribed in stone over the doorway.
Yeah, in
It's a-
stone. How
it's the
crazy was that?
Ode to Remembrance, and we thought, well, we remember people for what they've done and who have passed on or died during the fight. I don't want to be overly dramatic, but we do that, and it just brings us down to earth again. Reality stares you in the face. You start mentioning the names of people, and it gets rather sad, and it's really hard, especially because of Roger passing. Because Lefty just very quietly and calmly added him to the list last week, and when I said, good, yeah, to Roger, yeah, we both broke down a little. So
This list gets harder and harder to read every
we
week.
just pride ourselves on getting people feel like shit at the end of our broadcast.
Yeah, from real happy to real sad, real quick.
Yep.
Real quick. But we're not there yet. See, we're not there. I still have a couple minutes left because
Yes, you do.
Legalize for Lorelei. DavidVersusAutism.org. Tuffy's Fight. And Tuffy actually is affected by Roger directly because she's in the same school as Jenny. So Ricardo is helping us take up the fight, talking to Senator Cruz. Thank you, Ricardo.
Yes.
Jenny's Purple Ribbon Journey, which is Jenny Barbour. Jenna's Journey. Prayers for Sarah and prayers for Pete. We have American refugees in our country. A lot of them are children, like Vivian, Jax, Sarah, Diane.
Had to move to states where they could get their medicine. Had to leave their home state.
And then there's the list that I have a hard time reading this list lately. I feel like I have a little more closure today than I did before, but I still. It's not just Roger. It's watching Joanne the other day. I was with Joanne, and she lost Jeremy to a motorcycle accident a week before Roger. And watching Joanne suffer and how she's just distraught, how she lost her soulmate. How do you lose your soulmate and go on? She doesn't want to go on. She wants to go to heaven, she says. Can't imagine that. I can't imagine it. I just and Chad, whose mom took care of him. Iris took care of Chad. Iris has the horrible story too. And you all know why I get emotional, because you've all seen all the stories that I've seen. So I don't feel bad getting emotional around you guys, because you know how it feels. And Chad was diagnosed with brain cancer. When he was diagnosed, his father killed himself. So Chad's mother was left to take care of Chad. So all we could do was give him a magical butter machine. That's all we could do, and try to help her make medicine for Chad, because she had no idea what to do. She had no clue, and we had to help her, and Chad wound up dying. So he joined our list this year, and that was tough. And then little Jack joined our list this year, and Jeremy, and Roger, and it started with Sabina Rose. We started this list with Sabina Rose and Cheryl, actually, and Diane Ripatella. Cheryl was your wife. You pushed her out in the bed for years. It was the most inspiring activist that I can remember, because that's what got me into activism, watching you and Cheryl. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you and Cheryl. I'd probably be smoking pot selfishly home by myself. But she showed us what to do. She was in a bed. All she could move was her head, and she still fought for all you guys to get cannabis. She fought for all you guys, knowing that she would never see it in her lifetime. So she fought for you guys. That's amazing. She can move her head. She fought with her head.
Yeah, it was.
That's a good thing. We should
Seeing
all
that close up
fight
for
like
those years. I guess that's why I'm still here. But the list just keeps getting longer, though. That's what I don't like.
This list sucks, man.
This is what delays do. This is what delaying the regulations are going to do. There will be veterans and others who commit suicide waiting for this to become available. It will happen. Statistically speaking, it will happen. And that's why we're here. That's why nobody else comes weekly. And when I asked the state police, why do you think that is? They didn't know, other than their guess is that it must be important what we show up for. And they confirmed that our tenacity indicates the importance of it, because nobody does this. So, we owe everybody that, those who didn't make it, or those who we can help, and those who we can pave the way for that don't have to suffer, because we'll get this shit straight. But
And they were not going to interrupt us this morning. I hope I wasn't too harsh with them, but I really don't care if I hurt their feelings, if their butt hurt or not, because
they gave us good podcast.
too bad. We're here for a memorial.
No, too bad. It's good.
And you're going to interrupt our memorial? No, sorry. So, yeah.
Well, see, but that's when it turned. That's when I went in to talk to the supervisor. Talk to the supervisor, and that's when I was talking to him. He got called out here for the governor, so that was the earliest warning because of them. Because of them being how they were, I had to go inside, and we got the earliest warning possible. The governor was coming. I almost beat him out, you know. He's like, he has to come out and protect the governor. I got to go out and tell my people, governor's coming. Get out of my way. Yeah, one more laugh before. It's amazing what was written so long ago, almost 100 years ago. Ode to Remembrance, and it's the fourth stanza, I believe, out of 5.
Oh, it's a lot of stanzas.
Yeah, the others aren't as powerful as this one, though.
No.
This is a standalone stanza, and the one that's above the doorway. So why don't you
We
get
read
it out
this-
of the way and make us feel bad? you
We
know?
we read this for 2 years, and Joanne Zito told us that, oh, yeah, it's written in stone down the street. And we're like, what?
Yeah,
What?
last podcast of the year.
So we went looking for it, me and Jim.
In the rain.
And we found it. And it's sure as hell written in stone. Wow.
Literally.
Like, wow.
You know, and I think every
That
time
blew
you
my
say it's
mind.
written in stone, you got to say literally because people say,
Yeah.
he literally exploded. No, he didn't. You know, this is
No.
literally carved in stone.
Yeah. The Illuminati couldn't have planned it better.
So tell us what it is that's carved in stone, and I particularly like it. I don't know why. I've always liked it. Makes me feel bad, but it makes me feel resolute, and it's a great way to end a podcast.
Well, this podcast is dedicated to Roger Barbour, and I have a hard time adding him to this list every week. I don't know why. I just love that guy. And we're going to do what we can for Jenny and Laura and Marley. Don't worry, we got a plan, guys.
Yeah, we do.
We're problem solvers, and we're going to fix this. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them.
Good podcast.